Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Yet Rinji had finished the entire setup in just one day. Seeing the completed spooky classroom, Onodera couldn't help but comment. Never knew you had this kind of skill. There's a lot you don't know about me. True. Like how no one expected you'd look that good in a dress. Shut it. No need to be mad. Lots of people envy your popularity. They'd love to be you. Don't. I can't even imagine how deranged you all must be. Well, you've handled the setup. We'll take care of the costumes and props. No need. I've already made them. That fast? Want me to try one on for you? Rinji ducked behind the curtain. The other students gathered curiously to see what kind of outfits he had prepared. Haunted house costumes were usually predictable. Long white dresses with hair over the face, samurai corpses with arrows stuck in them, or traditional Japanese ghost suits. What do you think Takuman-kun will come out wearing? Hopefully Sadako. As they waited eagerly, Rinji pulled the curtain open. And left everyone dumbfounded. Takuman-kun. What are you wearing? He wasn't dressed like a traditional ghost. He wore a bulletproof vest, ammo belts slung over his shoulder, a rifle in hand, and his face painted in camouflage. I thought about it. This outfit inspires real fear. Rinji said seriously in full military gear. The scariest thing nowadays isn't open warfare. It's urban combat and guerrilla warfare. He said matter-of-factly. Picture this, you're just doing a patrol like usual, then suddenly a rebel dressed like me pops out with a rocket launcher. Scary, right? You seriously misunderstand what a haunted house is. Chapter 376, Return to the Disciplinary Committee and Festival Committee Meeting. Rinji-kun, we called you here for a reason. I figured. That day, Rinji didn't go to the student council office but instead showed up at the disciplinary committee room with Ino Maiko and Asaragi Kobachi. Ino had asked him to come. Apparently the committee chair had something important. All the members of the disciplinary committee were present. What is it? As a former committee member, I'll help however I can. It's about preparations for the Hashin festival. A member handed him an armband marked disciplinary committee. During the festival, we'll have many visitors from outside schools. Students tend to get rowdy during events, and our current team isn't enough to handle them. So, we need someone ruthless, unyielding, fear-inducing, and attractive. Rinji, that last one's completely false. Asaragi, but you didn't deny the first few. Previously, you were suspended from the committee due to a violent incident, but that's behind us now. I believe we need someone capable of taking harsh action. I'd like you to return to the committee. Seeing the head of the disciplinary committee's sincere expression, Rinji glanced at the armband, then picked it up and attached it to his arm. All right. Welcome back, Takuman-kun. Applause filled the room. That's great. Ino clapped happily. We can work together again. Yay. Asaragi clapped flatly. The school is doomed again. As the head said, there was a real concern about outsiders sneaking in during the festival. Last semester, some thugs caused trouble and harassed students. Security had to step in. Having Rinji return was probably a precaution. Most students only remembered him for his first-year brawls and his threatening student council speech, and recently his cross-dressing incident had mellowed their impression of him. But Asaragi thought differently. She was sure that if Rinji saw rule violations during the festival, he'd use extreme measures. If troublemakers showed up again, the next place they'd see would probably be the Eku. Let's hope nothing serious happens. That morning, Rinji rejoined the disciplinary committee. That afternoon, he attended a meeting of the Hashin Festival Executive Committee. The current committee head was Koyasu Tsubaime, the former cheer team vice captain. Thanks to her, the entire meeting room buzzed with energy and cheer. Rinji and Ino Maiko stood out like sore thumbs in the noisy environment. Ishigami, however, blended in easily. Is everyone really discussing seriously? Ino murmured, baffled by the chaotic meeting. I think so. Look at their stupid grins. They must be really enjoying this discussion. Rinji muttered, unimpressed. He glanced over at Ishigami. Ishigami, why are you suddenly so enthusiastic? Blending in is part of the process. That's so. Rinji then looked at Tsubame, who was on the platform surrounded by eager students. You're not doing this to get someone's attention, are you? At that, Ishigami flinched. Then tried to act calm. What are you talking about? As if I'd do something like that. Sure, if you say so. Rinji grinned and pointed toward a group of boys fawning over Tsubame. Look. Those nerds are already trying to flatter her. Those damn four-eyed toads. And nothing. I just think this is a great time for the student council to show its brilliance. Ishigami's tone suddenly turned serious. This is the only time you're ever motivated. But whatever. Rinji stood up and walked toward the blackboard. Facing the chatting Tsubame, he said, Toyasu-senpai, the meeting should probably get started now. Want me to lead off? That way we can organize things faster. Oh? You're right. Wait, Takuman-kun. Just as Tsubame agreed, the student with glasses suddenly spoke. This time, the executive committee chair is Swallow-senpai. The meeting should be hosted by her. Swallow-senpai was the nickname students at Shuchen gave to Koyasu Tsubame, a popular upperclassman. It wasn't unusual for someone well-liked like her to have a nickname. I saw you all discussing forever without getting anywhere, so I came to take charge myself. But that's not proper. Shut up. If you don't like it, let's step outside and fight. With that said, the meeting room fell silent. Though Rinji had gained some popularity at school thanks to his performance during the sports festival, when he spoke, everyone remembered. This was the delinquent who had been suspended twice. Please don't fight. Tsubame said, trying to calm Rinji down. I guess Takuman-kun is just anxious because things are progressing slowly. Let's have him host the meeting this time. I'm just here to kick things off. The rest is up to you, Koyasu-senpai. Rinji picked up the documents from the table and said, First issue, the slogan for the Hoshin Festival. We're supposed to discuss and give suggestions. Anyone got a good idea? Silence. No one said a word. Rinji wasn't the type to hype up the mood like Tsubame. He was the kind who'd cause a cold silence just by standing there. If no one has ideas, I'll decide it myself. He nodded, turned to the blackboard, and wrote the word security with chalk. This year's Hoshin Festival theme is security. To ensure student safety, I plan to install watchtowers at the school gates during the festival. Wait. I just thought of a better idea. I have a suggestion too. To stop Rinji from doing anything crazy, the students had no choice but to start speaking up. Chapter 377, Asking for Trouble. Hey. Is this really necessary? To stop you from causing trouble, this was my last resort. Ino said. Please don't blame me. You just got reinstated as a Public Morals Committee member. I don't want to see you expelled again. I appreciate the thought, Ino-san. Rinji said, struggling slightly. But do you really have to tie me to a chair? It's kind of embarrassing. At least this way, you'll behave during the meeting. Just a moment ago, Rinji looked ready to derail the Cultural Festival Committee meeting with some absurd ideas, so the Everitus Public Morals Committee member Ino Maiko acted quickly, forcing him into a chair and tying him up with ropes from who knows where. Rinji didn't resist much. The ropes were weak enough he could break free without effort, but out of respect, he stayed seated. All right. Let's continue the meeting, said Tsubame, wiping sweat from her forehead as she looked at her documents. Some students proposed raising prices on goods and removing cost floors. Seems reasonable. Why can't we? I'll answer that, said the glasses-wearing boy who had been chatting with Tsubame earlier. He was in charge of finances. Since this is an inter-community exchange event, we don't need a temporary business license. But that also means we can't run the stalls for profit. I see. So price hikes still aren't allowed? Not exactly. Pricing and costs are negotiable. Rinji suddenly broke free from the ropes, pulled a signed document from his pocket, and laid it on the table. 3 days ago, I already reported to the Tokyo Metropolitan Area Recyclable Resource Citizens Group and consulted with the office in charge. They approved treating Shuchen as a temporary flea market during the festival, meaning profit-making stalls are allowed. What? 3 days ago? Everyone stared at Rinji in shock. They never expected him to have prepared this far ahead. Tsubame checked the document. It indeed allowed Shuchen to host profit-generating stalls during the Hoshin Festival. Amazing. You went through all that paperwork. What else did you expect? Rinji shot a glance at everyone. While you were wasting time discussing the problems, I was already solving them. That's called efficiency. Ah. You're right. Rinji's words annoyed many, but no one could refute him. After all, he had resolved the issue before the meeting even started. Then. The next issue. Tsubame quickly turned her attention back to the report. About the question of why crepes can't be sold. Crepes, a French origin dessert with cream or fruit inside a thin wheat pancake, were quite popular in Japan. I'll take this one. Another student raised his hand. According to school guidelines, only heated food is allowed during the festival for health reasons. Items like raw cream or raw fish can't be used. I see. So that's why. This is the school's blanket policy. Rinji said. But I already consulted the school after receiving the student council's opinion. As long as the cream complies with the food sanitation law and the fruits with the positive list system, they can be sold without health concerns. Huh? You already discussed this with the school? Of course. They approved your proposal. Yep. Rinji smiled. I gave them conditions they couldn't refuse. The students finally understood how Rinji operated. Efficient and forceful. The meeting was meant to discuss issues, but he had already resolved them all. Rather than wasting time talking, Rinji preferred to get things done. Ishigami. How much did you actually do? What did you expect? Some of those proposals had so many loopholes. Why bother going through all that trouble? I'm not into loopholes. If you want to solve a problem, start at the root. Rinji replied. If I cut corners, people might think I'm weak. No one thinks that. Ishigami knew Rinji's style well. He always tackled things head-on. That just leaves the final issue. Tsubame said. A student proposed holding another bonfire event. At the word bonfire, Aino's expression changed. It reminded her of a beautiful memory. Back in elementary school, she had joined upperclassmen at a bonfire event, dancing and smiling around the flames. She wanted to see it again. But this is probably difficult. Tsubame said disappointedly. Regulations have tightened in recent years. Local governments don't allow schools to host bonfires due to fire and safety concerns. Aino had expected that. Still, she looked at Rinji, hoping maybe he had already found a way. I've heard of the bonfire event too. Rinji said seriously under everyone's gaze. I think not holding it is a good thing. Huh? It's just not safe. I guess that's true. Anyone with experience knows lighting a huge fire at night makes you an obvious target. It's basically suicide. Way too dangerous. Are we even talking about the same thing? Everyone stared blankly at Rinji. Ishigami realized this guy was spouting nonsense again. Aino genuinely wanted to host the event. Glancing at her meeting notes, she said, maybe if we get approval from the local government and residents association, we could pull it off. Sounds simple, but it's a ton of work. One student said. You need approval from a bunch of groups and departments. If everyone works together. Yeah, first find someone willing to go with you and handle all that. Aino froze. Looking around, everyone's eyes clearly showed their answer. Doing all that work for a bonfire wasn't worth it. It was asking for trouble. Chapter 378, I envy them. You'll need approval from the local government and residents committee to host a bonfire. Ishigami said. But if there's a fire truck present, it might be allowed. So it's about gaining their trust. Rinji nodded. Aino-san is probably good at that. She often helps out in the neighborhood. If she contacts the fire department in the next few days and gets signatures from the local groups, it might happen. Exactly. Aino said excitedly. She truly wanted this bonfire to happen. So, Aino, if you want them to agree, you'll need someone to help contact the fire department and manage the relationships. Otherwise, it'll be really hard to pull off. Rinji's right. Aino nodded. I need someone to help. Right, so pick someone to go with you. Why are you looking at me? That afternoon, Rinji visited the local fire station to negotiate borrowing a fire truck for the event. Though he could have easily bought a truck himself, hosting a bonfire required more than that. It needed official approval from the fire department. So, Rinji used safety education as an excuse to convince the fire department to approve the school's bonfire festival. As for why he had to personally handle this, it all came down to being roped in by Aino. She just had to randomly pick someone and ended up choosing him. All thanks to how reliable he usually acted. In Aino's eyes, there was nothing Rinji couldn't solve once he got involved. Of course, he wasn't the only one working with Aino this time. Fellow Cultural Festival Committee member Onodera volunteered to help her, and Aino's guardian Asaragi Kobachi also tagged along. Aino and Onodera were tasked with getting signatures and approval from local community groups, while Asaragi and Rinji took on the fire department. Thank you all very much for your understanding and support. Rinji said, bowing to the fire station chief. On behalf of Shuchin Student Council and the Hoshin Culture Festival Committee, I sincerely thank you. After exchanging bows with the station chief, the paperwork was officially complete. Seriously, getting me to do something like this. Does Aino think I have nothing better to do? From what I've observed, Rinji-san really is pretty free. Asaragi adjusted her thick glasses, expressionless as she stared at him. You were just like this when you were a public morals committee member. Asaragi, instead of constantly roasting me, maybe try focusing on your own dreams once in a while. Sorry, I really don't have any. You. Forget it. Leaning against a wall, Rinji pulled a cigarette from his pocket and stuck it between his lips. Hey, even if you smoke as a former morals committee member, don't do it right outside the fire department. If they see you, they could revoke the bonfire permit. TCH. Annoyed, Rinji put the cigarette away and walked into a shaded alley before lighting it. Blowing out a puff of smoke, he stared in the direction of the school. Damn it, Ishigami bailed on me. I thought we were supposed to suffer together? Well, Ishigami-kun has his own things going on. Asaragi replied, pushing her glasses again. He needs to make a move on Koyasu-senpai. Ah, so that's what's going on. I did notice him looking at Koyasu kind of strangely. Guess it's about time. With the Hashin festival approaching, the confession success rate jumps to 60% during this period. Asaragi said. I think Koyasu-senpai is a good choice for Ishigami. Not a bad idea. Certainly better than having feelings for a cross-dressing Rinji. Don't bring that up. Rinji stomped his cigarette, sparks flying. Ishigami is my bro. Our friendship can withstand anything. That whole sports festival thing. We're never talking about it again. Alright, I won't bring it up. Asaragi waved her hand as if to say the topic was closed. Then she looked back toward Rinji. By the way, Rinji, how do you see yourself? Huh? As a good guy? Or a bad guy? Do I even need to think about that? Obviously, I'm a bad guy. So, you're at least self-aware. I thought maybe after doing a few good deeds, you'd start seeing yourself as some idealistic hero. People who think like that are weak. Trying to justify their bad deeds by saying I just did the right thing in my own way. If you've done something bad, you're no longer a good person, no matter what the outcome is. Rinji lit another cigarette as he spoke. Asaragi stared at him in silence for a moment, then asked, then why does a bad guy like you keep helping Ishigami and Maiko? This isn't the first time. Did something happen in the past? Stop assuming stuff, you nosy four-eyed freak. Rinji exhaled a cloud of smoke, his gaze distant as if recalling something. Whether it's Ishigami, I know, or even the president. They're all people I envy. You? Envious of someone? Of course. People who have something I lack. Of course I'd envy them. Rinji said with a smile. I've always believed that kindness is the most valuable trait in a human being. And those guys all have that. So yeah, I envy them. He tilted his head up, gazing at the sky. Back at a certain crossroads in my life, I chose the shortcut. I gave up on being kind and became a villain. Sure, that made life easier and gave me a clearer role to play. But the moment I let go of kindness, I became a coward. A disgraceful deserter. That's why I admire people who stay kind no matter how tough things get. They're more human than someone like me. If he hadn't abandoned his kindness back then, maybe, just maybe, he would have had the confidence to face Hayasaka properly. Chapter 379, Together Are You Planning to Reclaim Your Kindness? No. I've already made my choice, so I'll see it through to the end. Rinji said. This is my way of surviving. You really want to stay a villain? If I try to be a good person, I won't be able to protect anyone. He shook his head. This world operates on a strange kind of balance. Where there's kindness, there will always be evil. And honestly, this society isn't fair to the kind-hearted. That's true. Asaragi nodded, seeming to recall something from her past. That's why I deeply respect those who stay kind even when treated unfairly. My role is to protect people like that. Rinji smiled. When villains like me fight other villains, it gives the truly kind people a chance to shine. Is that really how you think? Asaragi glanced at him, smirking slightly. What about you, then? I don't really matter. What the world needs is more good people. The fewer scumbags like me, the better. Rinji, how'd things go on your end? That afternoon, Rinji and Ino's groups met up again. Ino and Onodera held stacks of papers in their arms. Evidence that they had been going door to door getting approvals from the local community groups. All set on my end. Rinji raised the permit he got from the fire department. That's great. How about your side? 5 more places left. Onodera said. Want me to help? If you're offering, that'd be amazing. Onodera replied. But we can probably handle it. As long as you can, that's fine. I'm heading back to the student council to discuss the student fire safety education event so we can officially borrow the fire truck. Okay. After handing off the task, Rinji planned to head back alone. Rinji-kun. Ino suddenly called out to him. Yeah? Thanks for this. Really? She said softly. No need to thank me. Rinji turned back with a smile and waved. I'm looking forward to the bonfire too. Rinji left, while Asaragi stayed behind to help Ino finish the remaining visits. As she passed Rinji, Asaragi said quietly, I don't know if society needs someone like you. But the people around you definitely do. Huh? President, we finally got the bonfire event approved. I'm not too sure what exactly a bonfire festival is, but I hear it's supposed to be pretty romantic. Maybe you and Shinomiya can use this chance. You're right. Sitting at his desk, Shirogane fell into deep thought. Now that the bonfire was approved, it might be the perfect opportunity. He could use it to create an ideal moment and finally get closer to Kaguya. So, President, you got a plan? Of course I do. Mind sharing a little? I'd rather not. Fair enough. Just call me if you need help. Rinji placed the permit on the desk and was about to leave when... Wait a minute. North High is holding a 2-day culture festival soon. And you want to check it out? Yeah. But... I'd like to invite Shinomiya to come with me. Shirogane said. I asked her earlier, but she turned me down. Seriously? Rinji found it hard to believe that Shirogane would get rejected when asking Shinomiya directly. How exactly did you ask? I said, they're having a culture festival over there too. As the president and vice president of Shuchen, shouldn't we go check it out? And then? That was it. I think you weren't direct enough. Rinji said. What should I have said, then? Wanna go out with me? That's way too direct. I think at this point, you should be clear. Rinji said. By the way, did you tell Shinomiya about going to Stanford? Not yet. I plan to tell her during the Hoshin festival. Ah, so you're gambling everything on the festival. Rinji thought for a moment. According to his assessment, as long as Shirogane confesses, the success rate of the plan would be 100%. Plus, Kaguya had previously said that if the president didn't confess during the Hoshin festival, she would do it herself. Thinking it over, it seemed the odds of the two ending up together during the Hoshin festival were pretty high. Combined with the unique atmosphere of the event, there was no reason for failure. Still, if possible, it would be best to make the atmosphere on that day more romantic. Rinji already had an idea. He needed to prepare a few key things before then. President, it doesn't matter if Shinomiya doesn't attend the North High Cultural Festival. What matters is the Hoshin festival. Rinji said. If we put in some effort there, everything will fall into place. You've got a point. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll just... No, there is something. Shirogane pulled something that looked like an admission ticket from his pocket and handed it to Rinji. Cultural festivals at any school generally allowed outsiders to enter, but some places required a ticket distributed by students to keep out unwanted troublemakers. The one in Rinji's hand was for Shuchen's middle school cultural festival. Gave me this. There are 2 tickets in total. Their middle school festival happens a few days earlier than our high school Hoshin festival. Oh, so you want me to deliver this to Shinomiya? No. Shirogane shook his head. I want you to come with me to the middle school festival. Chapter 380, Amano. So, you and Rinjin are coming to our school's cultural festival? That's right. After heading home that day, Rinji visited Shirogane's house, and the two talked about it. Glanced at Rinji, then at her brother, thought for a moment, and said, Rinji Nick can come. But you, big bro, should stay home. What? That's blatant favoritism. Because you're too lame. Huh? You're the student council president. You're pretty well known even in our middle school. Said. If people see you and realize you're my brother, and then find out how lame you are, it'd be so embarrassing for me. Am I really that lame? Shirogane looked confused and turned to Rinji for an honest opinion. I don't think the word lame fits you at all, President. See? Even Rinji agrees. That's because Rinji Nil hasn't seen how you usually dress. Retorted. That's true. Rinji nodded. He really hadn't seen how Shirogane dressed casually. He always wore the same 2 outfits, Shuchen's winter and summer uniforms. Maybe also the gym uniform. Even during holidays, he'd wear the school uniform because it was the most expensive thing he owned. Then he can just wear the school uniform. No way, that stands out too much. Said, squinting at her brother. If you don't dress a bit better, I'm not taking you with me. What about Rinji? He usually wears his uniform too. I've seen Rinji in his casual wear when I went to Harajuku with Chikane and Mo. It's decent. Said. Besides, Rinji is handsome. He looks good in anything. Are you saying your brother isn't handsome? Then try wearing something besides your uniform. As Shirogane returned to his room, Rinji turned to... Don't you think you're being too harsh on the president? We've lived together for over 10 years. I know exactly what kind of person he is. Soon, Shirogane came out of his room. What he wore was, frankly, a problem. A skull-printed hoodie, jeans with chains, a cross necklace, and a belt with an eagle buckle. It was like a concentrated burst of middle school cringe fashion. Shire again seemed pleased with himself. He looked at the stun too and smiled. How is it? I can't even look at you right now. Ringy. President, I don't really get fashion. With this ridiculous outfit, even Shire again's usually decent looks were ruined. I can't take you out in public dressed like that. Is it really that bad? How about this? Ringy checked the time on his phone. There's still time before it gets dark. Let's go to Harajuku and buy you some clothes. Guess there's no choice. Said. By the way, Ringy, do you own anything besides the outfit from last semester? Of course I do. Oh. I have 10 identical ones. Then let's buy some for you too. Ah. I never used to come to places like this. Harajuku's malls had many trendy clothing stores. Prices weren't too high, but for the Shire again family back in the day, even this was a luxury. Even now, Shire again's attitude toward spending hadn't really changed. So, which clothes should we pick? You. Black tank top with a sweatshirt over it gives a comfy vibe. I think this would suit you, Ringy said, holding it up in front of him. Really? I'm not very good at picking clothes. Don't worry, I've got you covered. Shire again, weren't we here to get me clothes? I already picked yours. Set aside Ringy's clothes, then grabbed a plain white t-shirt and a light jacket, handing them to Shire again. Just wear this with a waist bag. You actually know this stuff? I've been to Harajuku several times. Said. Though most of the time I was job hunting. Ringy changed into the outfit picked and said, it's about dinner time. Should we grab something to eat nearby? McDonald's is fine. Said. Actually, I met a friend while job hunting who works there. Since it was dinner time, the nearby McDonald's was packed with office workers and students. Ringy and Shire again sat together, eating burgers. Chatted with a young female employee. You seem kind of down. Ringy is coming to our school festival tomorrow, but I'm busy with my class event. I need to figure out how to ask for leave. Said while sipping cola. Also, the weather in Tokyo has been weird lately. I'm worried it might rain during the festival. Don't worry, I promise it won't rain. The female employee said with a smile. As they talked, Ringy finished his meal and walked over to throw away the trash. According to the employee was a college student she met while job hunting. He glanced at the cheerful twin-tailed girl chatting with. She had fair skin and a warm smile. He hadn't looked too closely at her face, but something on her name tag caught his eye. It read, Amano. Chapter 381, Middle School Cultural Festival Amano. Ringy froze the moment he saw the name tag on the girl's chest. Ever since Uncle Amano's suicide, Ringy had been trying to find his children. Before his death, Uncle Amano said he had divorced his wife but still deeply cared about her and their kids. Ringy had promised to find them. He had tried. After returning to Japan, he investigated Amano's family through his channels. The results showed that Amano's ex-wife had passed away in the hospital a year ago. Given their age, the children would have still been minors and likely placed in someone's care. But Ringy found no records of custody. Meaning, Amano's children hadn't been officially adopted. They were likely living quietly somewhere in Japan. But it didn't make sense. Based on what Amano had told him, the eldest daughter should still be in middle school, and the younger son probably in elementary. So Ringy figured they were living with some relative, which is why there were no records. Excuse me, sir? The employee looked at Ringy, puzzled. He had been staring at her name tag this whole time, which made her a bit uncomfortable. Realizing it, Ringy quickly apologized. Sorry. Are you? Is your last name Amano? Yes. Is there a problem? No, not really. I was just wondering. Ringy looked up at her. How old are you? I mean, what's your age? Why? Why do you want to know that? Her face changed the moment he asked. She took 2 steps back, but then quickly regained her composure and gave a professional smile. I'm 18. 18. Don't you know, Ringy chimed in. You have to be 18 to work here. When I applied before, I got turned away because I wasn't old enough. I see. Ringy nodded, a little disappointed. There were too many Amanos in Japan. It wasn't unusual to meet someone with that name. And this girl being 18 clearly ruled her out as Uncle Amano's daughter. After finishing their meal, the 3 left McDonald's together after said goodbye to the employee. Watching the 3 walk away, the McDonald's worker with the surname Amano let out a small sigh of relief. Outside the McDonald's, Ringy's expression was clearly off, which Shire again noticed right away. Ringy, you seemed really focused on Amano-senpai just now. I was. Are you close with her? We're alright. When I first came to Harajuku looking for jobs and kept failing, I'd sometimes come rest at McDonald's, and Amano-senpai would always offer me a coffee. After a few times, we got to know each other. Do you know her full name? No, I only know her surname is Amano. He replied. But Rinji, your expression changed the moment you saw her. What happened? You know the company I run, right? Yeah, it's called Amano Pharmaceuticals. Wait, does it have something to do with Amano-senpai? The reason it's called Amano Pharmaceuticals is because that was the name of a company owned by a friend of mine 4 years ago. Shirakawa said. But 4 years ago, he committed suicide, leaving behind 2 children in Japan. Covered her mouth in shock. Shiragain added, but there are a lot of people in Japan with the surname Amano. You're not assuming she's his daughter just because of that, are you? I thought the same. She said she's 18, so the age doesn't match. I guess I overreacted. Rinji gave a bitter smile. So, what if you did find his kids? What would you do? Shiragain asked. I started Amano Pharmaceuticals to revive Uncle Amano's legacy. Once the company grows, I plan to hand it over to his children. He still held 15% of the shares, and I hold another 15%. The remaining 70% will be split between his daughter and son. You built this massive company just for them. Both Shiragain and Gore surprised by Rinji's generosity. But considering it was him, they weren't too shocked. Do you know their names? Yeah. Uncle Amano told me before. The daughter is Amano Hina, and the son is Amano Nagi. From weathering with you. The next afternoon, just as Shiragain had planned, he and Rinji put on their casual outfits and entered X Junior High for the school festival. 2 high school student council members showing up in the middle school section quickly drew attention. After all, Shiragain had been the high school's student council president for 2 years and always ranked first in his year. His good looks only added to his popularity. Rinji didn't have quite the same presence. His reputation was more infamous. Rumors of a delinquent in the high school. But few actually knew what he looked like. Today, both were dressed in clothes picked out by K, and they looked stylish. The pair of a sharp-eyed cool guy and a pretty boy drew stares from many junior high girls. They browsed the various booths and quickly found K's takoyaki stall. We came to see you. Oh, you guys made it. K, who was helping out, immediately handed each of them a box of takoyaki. Her classmates looked on in shock. After all, when do you ever see 2 completely different types of super handsome guys visit one girl at once? That only happens in Atome games. Hi there, Rinji-senpai. A girl standing next to greeted him. It was Fujiwara Moa, Fujiwara Chika's younger sister. Hello. It'd be a shame if you came all this way and no one showed you around. She smiled and casually slung an arm around K's shoulder. I'm switching shifts with you. Chapter 382, To Friendship. Had sometimes imagined what it'd be like to walk around the school festival with Rinji. Today, that wish had come true, just by chance. The festive atmosphere was perfect for deepening bonds. Walking the festival together could definitely bring people closer. As Moa temporarily took over K's post so she could show Rinji around, her cheeks turned slightly red. She was about to enjoy the festival with him. Or so she thought. President, this cotton candy is pretty good. Yeah, not bad. Do we have this at our festival? Doesn't seem like it. Too bad. Hey Rinji, try this candy apple, it's delicious. Ah. She had forgotten something crucial. Rinji hadn't come alone. Shiragain had brought him here, meaning she couldn't walk around with him by herself. The result, Rinji and Shiragain happily tagged along behind K, fully enjoying the middle school festival. Many girls watched enviously as K walked with these 2 handsome senpai, unaware of her inner frustration. Being a responsible person, couldn't just kick her own brother out for her own sake. Big bro, why did you insist on bringing Rinji to our school's festival? She asked. Because I won't be able to join him at our high school's festival. Shiragain replied. I've got other stuff going on, and Rinji has to perform with Secretary Fujiwara. We probably won't even see each other. That's not really what I meant. She was wondering why both of them had to come to the middle school section. Couldn't just one have handled the scouting? But then she seemed to realize something. With a light sigh, she turned and stood in front of Rinji. Rinji, are you free the afternoon of the 2nd day of the Hoshin festival? The 2nd day? He thought back. On the first morning, he was scheduled to perform with Fujiwara. That afternoon, he'd promised to meet Hayasaka. The 2nd day was mostly open. I'm free. Then, would you walk around with me during the Hoshin festival? Of course. I'm on the Culture Festival Committee, after all. I know all the fun spots. Then it's a promise. K smiled, checked the time on her phone, and said, I better get back. Big bro, you take Rinji around, and don't get lost. Relax, I'm not that bad with directions. Cran off, leaving the two behind amid the bustling booths and visitors. With nothing else planned, the two of them continued exploring. Phew, school festivals really do have a lot of stuff. That's one of the charms of Japanese schools. On the rooftop, Rinji leaned on the railing, watching the people below. Shirogane stood beside him, sipping a canned coffee. After a sip, he smiled and said, "Probably wanted to walk around with you today. With me here, she probably felt awkward. It's her rebellious phase, I get it." Rinji smiled. "But she's still pretty mature, huh? That's what I appreciate about her," Shirogane said, handing Rinji another can from his shoulder bag. Rinji took it, popped it open, and smiled warmly. "I'm only a first year. I've got 2 more years of school left. We'll be in high school by then too. I'll still have time with her. But you? Not so much." "Yeah." There was no sadness in Shirogane's eyes, but a quiet sense of longing. Soon he would be heading to Stanford University in the US. There would be no 3rd year of high school for him. This Hoshin festival would be his last. He planned to confess his feelings to Kaguya during that festival. There would be no room for anything else. That's why he invited Renji to the middle school festival. He said it was for scouting. In truth, it was just the two of them spending time together. As the person Shirogane trusted most, Rinji deserved a proper festival memory too. Since the Hoshin festival was already claimed by Kaguya, they'd use this one instead. High school life shouldn't be all about love. Friendship should be just as important. Leaning on the railing, Shirogane swirled his coffee and listened to the noise of the festival below. "At least today, we got to enjoy the festival together. That'll be a nice memory for our friendship." "You say that like you're never coming back from America," Rinji said with a laugh. "If I could, I'd want you and Shinomiya to come too. Maybe even Ishigami, Fujiwara, and Ano. But I know that's unlikely. Try asking Shinomiya. She might just go with you. But me? I'm not a fan of the US. "Fair enough." Shirogane turned, raised his can. "This is the first and last time we'll enjoy a school festival together. Let's toast to that memory." "Sure. But I'm not going to say some cheesy line like 'May your future be bright.' You've got me backing you, you'll be fine." "Haha, then let's just toast to friendship." "To friendship." Clink. Their cans bumped, and they downed the drinks in one go. Chapter 383, Haunted House. Ah. So scary. "Rinji. Help me. Rinji. Ah. Rinji, would you two calm down? You're screaming like you're being murdered in there." Today, the first-year haunted house project had finally been completed. They were now testing it out with some volunteers. The test participants were fellow first years, Ino Maiko and the ever-eager Fujiwara Chika. From the moment they entered, their screams echoed constantly. Even outside, Rinji could hear it loud and clear. They sounded like they were witnessing horrors beyond imagination. "Looks like it's a big success." Onodera removed her wig and walked out from backstage, smiling at Rinji. "Looks like my setup was the scarier one. I still don't get what's so scary about it." Earlier, Rinji had spent half a day decorating the entire classroom into a haunted house. But due to his unique understanding of horror, very different from that of normal people, he came up with some bizarre costumes. The first-year students had no choice but to remake their haunted house costumes from scratch. Still, no one blamed Rinji. After all, he was the one who handled everything from the costumes to the set design. Even if they weren't satisfied with the results, they couldn't really complain. Without Rinji, they wouldn't have even been able to put on a haunted house in the first place. Ugh. Fujiwara and Nino stumbled out of the haunted house looking utterly devastated, clearly still shaken. "I mean, was that really scary?" "Of course it was. Ghost women jumping out from the dark, blood-covered ghouls." "Rinji, aren't you even a little scared?" Fujiwara looked at him, visibly annoyed. "I didn't feel anything," Rinji replied. "If anything, it was you and Nino's screams that were scarier." "Rinji, are you just pretending to be brave in front of the girls?" Fujiwara's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "I don't see the point in lying about something like this." "Is that so? Then how about you go through it yourself?" "I don't know what you're so hung up on, but sure, I'll go." Probably irritated by Rinji's sarcasm, Fujiwara wanted him to experience true terror firsthand. Since there was nothing else going on, Rinji simply walked into the haunted house. "Wait. What now? I think you'll just force yourself to stay quiet. So this time, I'm going in with you," Fujiwara said with a mischievous grin as she pulled out her phone. "I'll make sure to capture your scared expression." "That's a great idea." Onodera chimed in. "If we manage to get a picture of Rinji terrified, we can use it as promotional material during the festival." TSK. Ever since the sports festival, All you guys do is think of ways to mess with me. Why? Because you always came across as dangerous. Onodera said flatly. From the first semester's fights to threatening the whole school in the second, you've always given off final boss vibes. And no one, not even the Union Club, can control you. On top of that, your grades are great. It's like you're invincible. So what, you're trying to take me down to make a name for yourselves? No, we're just looking for the gap, Mo. Huh? Someone like you, who seems like a big boss character, if you suddenly show a cute or soft side, it gets amplified. Like when you wore a dress during the sports festival. Don't bring up the dress again. Fine. But wanting to see you scared is the same logic. Onodera continued. If Shushin's dictator suddenly looks frightened, it's pretty entertaining. Just as Renji was rendered speechless, Fujiwara pulled him into the haunted house. Looking at the pitch-dark interior, Renji said to her, "You were the one screaming like crazy earlier, and now you want to see me scared?" Humphrey. Fujiwara puffed out her chest confidently. Now that I've seen it once, I already know the haunted house's layout. I can't be scared anymore. 5 minutes later. Ah. Renji, help me. It's fake. As they walked through the haunted house, a figure dressed in white with a scary painted face suddenly leaped out from behind some fake bushes. The ghost walked toward them slowly, holding a pair of blood-stained scissors. Give me your ears. Ah. Fujiwara latched tightly onto Renji's arm, pressing her entire chest against him. Renji felt the softness on his arm but didn't react much. Or rather, he wasn't thinking about it at all. Relax. It's fake. The person in front of you is Onodera. Ugh. Weren't you the one saying you weren't scared anymore? The ghost took off her wig, revealing her long blonde hair. It was Onodera Ray, dressed up as the ghost. She looked at Fujiwara clinging to Renji and sighed softly. I knew Renji wouldn't be scared so easily. Logically speaking, there's no reason for me to be scared. Renji pointed at Onodera's prop. A woman holding a pair of scissors doesn't exactly scream threat. No battle experience, no power. If it were a rocket launcher, maybe I'd flinch a little. Your thought process really is different from normal people's, Renji. Alright, Fujiwara, you can open your eyes now. Hearing Renji's words, Fujiwara slowly opened her eyes. And the first thing she saw was Renji snapping a picture of her terrified, tear-streaked face. I took it when you hugged me. Renji said. This should work great as promotional material, right? Renji, you're so mean. Onodera pulled out her own camera from beneath her costume. It had a photo of Fujiwara clinging to Renji. I think this photo's perfect for promotion. Might even attract couples. Chapter 384, This person has issues, I get the general picture. Yeah, that night. Leaning against a student council office window, Renji ended the phone call and turned to Shire again, who was seated at the desk reviewing documents for the Hoshin festival. Everything's arranged. You're sure about using it at that time? Yeah. Sorry to trouble you. Shire again rubbed the space between his brows. Ever since the Hoshin festival began, his workload had skyrocketed. Renji used to be able to help him with many tasks, but with his role in the Culture Festivals Committee, he barely had the time or energy to lend Shire again a hand now. This kind of small favor is no big deal to me. Renji said. But honestly, President, you really ought to learn how to better utilize the resources around you. That's still a bit hard for me. What Renji meant was that Shire again could just rely on him, but Shire again had grown up learning never to owe others too many favors. By now, he'd lost count of how many times he'd owed Renji something. Don't you want Shinomiya to go to Stanford with you too? Want me to find someone to write her a recommendation letter? I've got plenty of people who could do that. No need. Since I've served 2 terms as student council president, the principals agreed to write me 2 letters. I can just give one to Shinomiya. Shire again said. The only issue is whether she'll accept it. You're still lacking confidence, huh, President? Maybe. But this time, I have to muster some courage. Shire again's eyes turned resolute. I need to fight like a man. This is the final showdown. Now that's more like it. Renji smiled and nodded. Ishigami? Whoa. You scared me. Outside the Culture Festival Committee room, Ishigami had been lurking by the door, staring inside. He jolted the moment Renji patted his shoulder. What are you looking at so intently? Ah. Nothing. Ishigami said, shaking his head quickly. When did you get here, Renji? 5 minutes ago. Been watching you standing here like a thief waiting to break in. What kind of analogy is that? So what are you actually looking at? Renji glanced into the room and spotted Koyasu Tsubame talking to a third-year male student. Renji and Ishigami both recognized him. Kazano, the cheering squad captain from the sports festival. Kazano and Koyasu again? Looks like the festival really is packed with tasks. They must be short on help. After commenting, Rinji turned to see Ishigami still nervously peeking into the room. Not going to say hi? Well, they're all people you know. What are you scared of? With that, Rinji grabbed Ishigami by the arm and dragged him into the room. Toyasu-senpai, Captain Kazano. You're both here too, huh? Oh. Ishigami and Rinji. Long time no see. Kazano greeted them warmly. I heard you're both on the Hoshin Festival committee now. Tough work. It's manageable. Rinji looked at the two and said, didn't expect to see you here, Captain Kazano. You discussing something with Toyasu-senpai? Nothing major. Kazano said with a smile. Just wanted to coordinate a bit about booth arrangements. I see. As Rinji turned his head slightly, he noticed that Ishigami seemed to let out a small sigh of relief. Well, Captain Kazano, you guys go on. Ishigami and I have other matters to handle. Kazano, sure, got it. Tsubame, thanks for the hard work. After saying goodbye, Rinji and Ishigami stepped back into the hallway. While walking, Rinji casually asked, Toyasu-senpai is quite pretty, huh? Ishigami, yeah. You're into her, right? Huh? What? As soon as Rinji said that, Ishigami visibly flinched and stepped back with an awkward laugh, waving his hands. Rinji, what are you talking about? There's no way You think I can't tell what's going on in your head? Rinji said flatly. When did it start? Was it back at the sports festival? I mean. Come on, liking a girl isn't something to be ashamed of. Why are you so panicked? Stop messing around, Rinji. Suddenly, Ishigami's expression turned serious as he grabbed Rinji's shoulders. I only have eyes for the cross-dressing you. If you said that lame joke just to ease your own awkwardness, then I won't beat you up. Now stop having dangerous thoughts. How did you figure it out? Anyone paying a bit of attention could tell. Not only did Rinji notice, but even classmates like Hanodra and Kobachi saw through it. I do like Toyasu-senpai, but... even if I like her, it can only be one-sided. Ishigami admitted he had feelings for Toyasu Tsubame. Rinji, let me ask, how do you see me? Huh? From a woman's perspective. If I could think like a woman, I'd have something seriously wrong with me. No. I mean, do I seem like the kind of guy a girl might like? Ishigami lowered his head as he spoke. This guy was even more lacking in confidence than Shirogane. I guess, sort of. What a vague answer. Relax, you're my bro. With that status, what kind of girl couldn't you get? I don't know where your arrogance comes from, but sometimes I really envy you. Ishigami said with a wry smile. Do you want to confess? I don't have the courage. Then wait for Toyasu to confess to you? No way. Ishigami shook his head. Koyasu-senpai is already in 3rd year. These are her final days in school. In less than half a year, she'll be heading off to a university in another city. The Hoshin Festival was basically Ishigami's last chance. Alright, I'll help you think of something. Wait, Rinji, I was just talking. I didn't mean for you to. I don't like meddling in others' love lives either, but Ishigami, you don't want to graduate with regrets, do you? Rinji said. Well. Don't worry, I won't directly get involved in anything between the two of you. I'll just give you some advice. Alright then, thanks a lot. No problem, we're brothers. Rinji chuckled and gave Ishigami a light punch in the chest. Chapter 385, Survivor Bias. These are the sample products for the Hoshin Festival. Shinamiya-san, Rinji-kun, take a look. Let me see. Kaguya and Rinji each took one of the beautifully packaged snacks. Shuchin Manju and Shuchin Senpai, custom-made products funded by the OB Association. Quality-wise, no issues at all. Rinji nodded. The Shuchin OB Association really doesn't mind spending on things like this. Since Rinji was the student council treasurer, he had to keep a record of the special festival merchandise. Kaguya, as the vice president, naturally needed to oversee it too. Speaking of which, Kaguya picked up a heart-shaped pendant, her expression a bit puzzled. I remember this was sold last year too. Does it really sell? To her, heart shapes were tacky. She didn't think there was a market for this kind of thing. Of course. Hoshin Festival is all about this. Tsubame laughed. You don't know the legend behind the Hoshin Festival? Rinji and Kaguya both shook their heads. Kaguya never paid attention to things like this, and Rinji, being a transfer student, didn't know either. Seeing that neither of them knew, Tsubame was happy to explain. Long ago, in some place, a princess was dying from illness. Her father prayed to the heavens and received an answer: burn a young man's heart, mix the ashes with radish juice, and have the princess drink it. A man who loved the princess deeply stepped forward and offered his heart. In the end, she was saved. After a pause, Tsubame smiled and continued. because this was written in a Fudoki from the Nara period, and the place where it supposedly happened is said to be right here at Shuchinhai. That's how the Hoshin festival came to be. Renji, what a cheesy story. Kaguya, that's full of plot holes. I don't care for supernatural or romantic stories like that. You guys are so cold. Of course. Eating ashes to cure illness is just superstition. Kaguya shrugged and picked up the heart pendant. What does this have to do with the story? Everything. Tsubame took the pendant from Kaguya, her eyes filled with a girl's dreamy longing for romance. A heart shape symbolizes the heart. If you give a heart-shaped object at the Hoshin festival, you'll gain eternal love. How romantic. Kaguya suddenly perked up. The same person who mocked the story moments ago was now energized by it. Giving a heart-shaped item equaled offering one's heart and receiving eternal love. My older brother was given a heart-shaped trinket during the Hoshin festival in high school. They just got married recently. It actually works? Despite her usual disinterest in the supernatural, Kaguya bought into it. Of course it does. Then I think that's probably nonsense. Renji cut in. Koyasu-senpai's brother did marry the girl who gave him the pendant, sure. But how many of the people who gave out trinkets failed? You've never tallied that. Believing it works just because you've seen success is falling into the survivor bias fallacy. Survivor bias refers to the error of focusing only on people or things that made it past some selection process, ignoring those that didn't. Because the latter are invisible. Renji-kun, you really know how to ruin the mood at the worst times. Kaguya, who had just been thinking of giving Shirogane Miyuki a heart-shaped item, felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured on her. I'm just raising a question. If you really think giving a heart trinket equals lasting love, then pretend I didn't say anything. Renji ignored Kaguya's annoyed glare and calmly recorded product data. As if remembering something, he suddenly looked at Tsubame seriously. Koyasu-senpai, will you be alone during the Hoshin festival? Well. On the second day I have a performance with the Rhythmic Gymnastics Club. Other than that, yeah, I'll be alone. Then. Would you mind having someone accompany you during the festival? Kaguya and Tsubame both looked at Renji in shock. That sounded a lot like a date invitation. Renji-kun, what are you doing? You have a girlfriend. If you're going to ask someone out, why not invite Hayasaka? White Tsubame-senpai. You scumbag. Kaguya was screaming inside. Meanwhile, Tsubame's cheeks turned faintly red. Are you asking me to go around the Hoshin festival with you? Oh, it's not about me. Renji said suddenly. It's about Ishigami. Huh? Ishigami You know him, right? You were on the cheer squad with him, and now you're both on the festival committee. Renji explained. He's my friend. I was supposed to tour the festival with him, but I have my duet with Fujiwara and disciplinary committee work, so I won't have much time. The guy doesn't have many friends and it's his first Hoshin festival, so I thought. If you're free, would you mind accompanying him? I'm worried he might shut down on his own. Renji's fabricated excuse left both girls dumbfounded. But Tsubame accepted it with a gentle smile. I know you can. If he is by himself, I'll keep him company. I do know a lot of fun spots. Thank you, Koyasu-senpai. It's no problem. Tsubame smiled at Renji as he gave her a small bow. You're a really kind person, Renji-kun. Still thinking about your friends, even now. I wouldn't say kind. Renji smiled. Not everyone qualifies to be my friend. Well, that may be true, but doing this for your friend is still admirable. Tsubame's smile grew even gentler. By the way, calling you Renji-kun all the time feels a bit stiff. Can I call you Renji instead? Up to you. Yay. Chapter 386, The answer to the problem Renji-kun, that move just now was way too obvious. Relax. Based on my analysis of Koyasu Tsubame, she didn't catch the underlying meaning. Renji said. I was just giving Ishigami a shot. Whether it works is up to him. You actually care about Ishigami's love life? Kaguya was surprised. Based on what she knew, Renji usually never got involved in others' relationships. Yet today, he'd gone out of his way to create an excuse and roped Tsubame in. Just raising the success rate a bit. Renji said. I'd rather stay in the background and watch things unfold, but sometimes, if you don't give it a push, nothing ever happens. He turned and looked at Kaguya. Just like you and the president. The moment Renji shifted the topic from Ishigami to her and Shirogane, Kaguya's face turned bright red. The president and I are just. Don't forget what you promised me and Hayasaka last time. This Hoshin festival might be your final chance, right? Yeah. Even though her face had flushed red all the way to her ears, Kaguya still gave a small nod. This Hoshin festival was her final deadline. If Shirogane didn't confess, then she would do it herself. But can this really succeed? Kaguya muttered quietly. What if the president rejects my confession? What exactly are you worried about? Kaguya shook her head and leaned lightly against the wall, her gaze a bit complicated. Rinji-kun, you remember how I used to be, right? Of course. You used to always look like someone owed you money, with a deadpan face 24 out of 7. Your tone was so stiff, it was like you were chanting prayers over a corpse. You're really not holding back at all. Kaguya sighed. What Rinji had seen 4 years ago was Kaguya just after graduating from the elementary division into middle school. At the time, she always wore a stern expression, as if she didn't care about anything. I always thought life was about enduring everything you hate, just surviving through it all. That is, until I met the president and joined the student council. That's when my values began to change. Kaguya spoke slowly. It was probably the first time she had shared her inner thoughts with Rinji. Maybe she just needed someone to talk to. The more I interacted with the president, the more I felt disgusted with myself. He's always so gentle with everyone, and I judge everyone I meet by whether they're useful to me. It made me feel like I'm just cold and ugly inside. Her voice gradually softened. Rinji didn't respond with his usual sarcasm. So I kept wondering. Can someone like me really be liked by the president? Isn't his kindness the same to everyone? Am I not just imagining I'm someone special to him? Rinji fell silent. Now he could tell. Both Shirogane and Kaguya were agonizing over the same thing, whether or not they were worthy of each other. Shirogane had always believed Kaguya was a perfect girl. Top grades, awards in every field, and an incredible family background. He always felt like he could only look up to her and strove desperately to stand by her side. He couldn't confess because even if she accepted, he'd believe it was out of pity or charity. Because someone as outstanding as her accepting someone like him could only be out of sympathy. He didn't want love tainted with those feelings, so he tried to make her confess instead. Meanwhile, Kaguya believed that someone as cold and cunning as herself was unworthy of someone as kind as him. She feared he'd hate the darkness in her. It wasn't about pride, or who confessed first. They were simply running away from their own insecurities. Shinomiya, would you like me to answer both your questions? Rinji leaned back against the wall beside her, raising 2 fingers. You think you're cold and wicked. But compared to someone like me, who was already capable of taking a life 4 years ago, what do you think? Huh? Kaguya looked at Rinji, clearly surprised that he was earnestly responding to her self-loathing. Anyone at this school is kinder than me. When it comes to cruelty and coldness, I've got you beat by a long shot. He said with a smile. But has the president ever hated me? He doesn't care what kind of person you are, so you don't need to worry about him hating you. After a pause, Rinji put 1 finger down. As for your second question, you think I'm helping you confess to him just because we're close? Do you really think I'd do that for free? Of course not. Kaguya replied firmly. Though Rinji didn't treat her as an enemy and they worked together in the student council, they definitely weren't close. In fact, she had the worst relationship with him among all the council members. So when he suddenly offered to help her confess, she had been completely confused. My relationship with you isn't great, but I'm very close with the president. Rinji said. And I believe he'd be happy if you confessed. That's why I'm helping. Because you're his happiness. That's the truth. No matter what, you are the most special person to him. I'm special to the president? A glow returned to Kaguya's eyes. Exactly. So you can rest easy now, right? Yes. Thank you, Rinji-kun. Kaguya stepped away from the wall, smiling brightly as she faced him. Didn't expect you to be so good at comforting people. No need for thanks. Now that you're at ease, go get ready. Of course. Still, I finally understand why Hayasaka likes you. You're unexpectedly charming when you're like this. Get lost. After Kaguya left, Rinji remained leaning against the wall. He lit a cigarette and took a slow drag. When did I start playing this kind of role? Chapter 387, Time Management. Do you have time during the Hoshin festival? If you dare say no, you're dead. I guess I'm free the morning of the second day. On the rooftop, Rinji shared his schedule with Ryuju Momo. For some unknown reason, his time during the Hoshin festival had been completely booked. A duet with Fujiwara, invitations from Hayasaka and now Momo's request, plus patrol duty with Ino as part of the morals committee. 1 festival, 5 girls. It sounded strange, but that was the situation. You've only got 1 morning free? I can't help it. Everything else got booked. TCH. You've only been at this school and you're already this popular. I don't know why either. Originally, Rinji never considered his popularity. When he first arrived at Shuchin, His only goal was to leave and return to the battlefield. But now, he was gradually getting used to school life. He first noticed the change after he officially started dating Karura. Before that, he never thought girls were interested in him. Now, more and more were appearing around him. Not that it mattered. His heart belonged to Karura. Speaking of which, is your girlfriend coming to this festival? Karura? No, she's busy. Her school has its own stuff going on. Oh, good. What do you mean good? Everyone else invited me and she's the only one not coming. That's just depressing. Thanks to efforts from Renji and Ino, they had even secured permission for a bonfire event. If possible, he would have liked to invite Karura. I don't think it's that bad. The one who said this wasn't Momo. It was Shirogane. He was crouched by the railing scrubbing his giant art project made from junk, dragon-coiled pearl. A traditional piece every student council president was expected to make. Turning his head with a smile, he said, "You're just a first year. You can invite her to next year's festival." That's true. Renji chuckled. But Karura's a second year. She might be busy with college entrance stuff next time. The Cure clan were assassins, but they were highly educated. Like Fujui currently studying in college, Karura would definitely pursue higher education too. Even though she claimed she wanted to marry and have kids with Renji right after graduation. Don't dwell on it. Just enjoy this festival. Momo sat up from her air cushion and said to Renji. Open your mouth. Huh? MMPH. As soon as he opened his mouth, she quickly popped something in. He tasted sweetness. Chocolate. MMPH, thanks. You're welcome. Momo smiled as she watched him chew the chocolate. Meanwhile, Shirogane had just finished painting his project and walked over, removing his bandana. He hadn't seen what Momo fed Renji, but he did spot the wrapper nearby. It was a heart-shaped chocolate. Anyone familiar with the Hashin festival knew that giving heart-shaped items, accessories or food, was equivalent to a confession. It was an unspoken rule at Shuchin. Seeing this, Shirogane looked at Momo in shock. As someone who had worked with her in the student council, it was hard to imagine someone as hot-tempered and fierce as her actually had feelings for Renji. Noticing his gaze, Momo snapped, "What are you looking at?" "Nothing. Just wanted to ask Renji for a favor." "I need balloons?" "Yeah, this is the final part of my plan," Shirogane said. His class, 2B, was selling balloons shaped based on customer requests. Renji twirled two long balloons in his hands. "The school will be decorated with heart-shaped balloons to match the festival theme, so I'm hoping we can collect them all later." "You want me to collect the school's heart-shaped balloons?" "That's easy," Renji said casually, still twisting his balloon. "This is part of your plan to win over Shinomiya, right?" "Yeah. I'll help you with this." "Thank you very much." "And I'm sorry. You're both an festival committee member for Hashin and have rejoined the disciplinary committee. You must already be swamped, and I still have to trouble you. You should learn how to make better use of the resources around you, President. Always prioritize your own goals." Renji smiled. "And didn't I already say it? I'll fully support you." "Thanks." Just like always, Renji gave Shirogane a sense of reliability. "By the way, wasn't your class selling balloons for the festival? I thought you called me over to teach you how to make balloon animals or something." "No. Actually, I've been learning that myself. Besides, I doubt you're good at everything either." "It's done." Before Shirogane could even finish his sentence, the two long balloons in Renji's hands had already been twisted into shape. It ended up as a fighter jet. Judging by the complexity, it was clearly at an expert level. His skill easily outclassed anyone in their class. "I forgot. You're a natural genius, aren't you?" Chapter 388, A Duet. I now declare the Shuchin Cultural Festival. Hashinsai. Open. Early in the morning, the entire high school division of Shuchin Academy was decorated in all sorts of styles. As Tsubame Koyasa stood on the temporary stage with a microphone and shouted, the whole school erupted with excitement. The Hashinsai had officially begun. Amid the lively atmosphere, Renji and the rest of the first-year festival committee members got to work. They were responsible for helping clubs and classes transport supplies and materials. Renji glanced at his phone. According to the schedule, after finishing his morning duties, he was due to perform in a duet with Fujiwara in the auditorium in about an hour. "Renji-kun, are you heading to Fujiwara-senpai after this?" Ino asked while staying busy. "Yeah. Do you want to go ahead? I can handle things here. I'll do it myself. Everything has a proper order." Saying that, Renji picked up a box on the ground and walked toward the booths outside. "It's just a morning performance anyway. Fujiwara doesn't want to waste too much time on the Hashinsai, so there are only a few scheduled performances." "I see. I'll go watch then," Ino said softly. Fujiwara was a nationally awarded piano prodigy from middle school. Someone I know had long admired. With her idol stepping on stage again, I know naturally wanted to witness it in person. You're late. Culture Festival Committee duties. Try to understand. Backstage in the school auditorium, Fujiwara, dressed in a formal gown, pouted as she pointed at Rinji, who arrived late. Rinji scratched his head, unconcerned. He opened a wooden case and took out his violin. When do we go on? Wait, are you going on stage dressed like that? Rinji was wearing his school uniform, the disciplinary committee armband still attached. He looked like he'd rushed over right after moving heavy boxes. What else would I wear? Seriously, come with me. Fujiwara pulled Rinji into a nearby dressing room and threw him a tuxedo from the rack. Put this on. Alright. It was a hassle, but that's how stage performances go. After taking off his uniform jacket, Rinji put on the tuxedo and fastened the buttons. Fujiwara stepped over, holding a bottle of hair gel. What are you doing? Don't move. She smeared the gel on her hands and slicked back his hair in one motion. There, perfect? She nodded with satisfaction at her handiwork. Rinji grabbed a mirror and looked at his new hairstyle. A slick-back pompadour. He had to admit, it gave him a very masculine look. Gone was the girlish impression from his longer hair. Nice. Fujiwara, this will be my signature look from now on. Rinji ran his hand over his hair, pleased. As expected of me. Fujiwara puffed out her chest proudly. Alright, it's almost showtime. The two, now both dressed in formal wear, headed toward the stage. As the MC announced their names, the curtain slowly rose. Rinji stood with his violin, and Fujiwara walked toward the grand piano in the center. Shuchin's auditorium was massive, yet packed to the brim. Flashbulbs went off here and there among the crowd. Fujiwara's fame as a piano prodigy had long since spread beyond the academy. Her sudden return to the stage stirred excitement even outside school circles. Fujiwara-senpai's more popular than I expected. Ishigami muttered nervously in the stands. Yeah, she doesn't look it, but she's a real genius. Shirogane sat beside him. Winning prizes from a young age. That's no ordinary feat. True enough. Ishigami chuckled. It might even be one of her few redeeming qualities. Said Kaguya with a smile. The whole student council was in attendance. After all, both performers were council members. Meanwhile, among those who came just for Fujiwara, many were whispering about the unfamiliar boy beside her. Once the venue quieted, the performance began. Rinji drew his bow across the strings, releasing a smooth, flowing melody. It brushed against the listeners like a refreshing breeze. Like a cool morning mist in summer, it both chilled and warmed the soul. Just as everyone was being drawn in, Fujiwara's delicate fingers touched the piano keys. The sound was gentle, like peaceful times, like radiant frost. Beneath each note was a hidden grandeur. Their duet was nearly flawless. No imperfections to be found. For a moment, the audience was wholly enchanted, drawn into a world crafted by music. 10 minutes later, the piece ended. Fujiwara lifted her hands from the keys. Rinji lowered his violin and gave an elegant bow. Whoosh! Thunderous applause filled the auditorium. Impressive as always, Rinji. Ishigami said, clapping. Now that's a real genius. Yeah. Shirogane smiled at Rinji on stage. But it wasn't just students or Fujiwara's fans in the audience. In a shadowed corner, a black-haired man wearing a round hat sat silently, his face hidden. He gazed at Rinji and smiled warmly, clapping along with the rest. Chapter 389, Tradition finally done. Yeah. 3 straight hours. This might be the most exhausting concert I've ever done. Back in the dressing room, Fujiwara gulped down a drink. Rinji was already there waiting. Though she was famous, Fujiwara usually played one piece and left. Playing multiple songs with short breaks for 3 hours was rare. The concert was a massive success. Her return and Rinji's stunning debut left a deep impression. Rinji's reputation spread quickly. Unlike the sports festival, this time everyone acknowledged his skill. From the elegance of his performance to his presence on stage, he gained a large following. All that prep since last semester paid off. Totally. By the way, why did you stay on stage after the concert? Rinji asked. After the bow, Rinji had returned to the dressing room, but Fujiwara stayed on stage a while longer. Obviously, for my lovely fans. Fujiwara giggled. Some have followed me since middle school. They must have been thrilled to see me perform again. Fair point. Rinji remembered people rushing on stage to present flowers, like she was an international star. Those flowers were probably already collected by festival committee members. At the very least, I can't look indifferent. Public relations still matter. Spoken like a true politician. Oh, and Rinji-kun, you have fans too. Fujiwara grinned. Someone asked me to give you this letter. She pulled an envelope from her cleavage and handed it to him. Rinji wanted to comment on her choice of storage, but he opened it anyway. The contents read, "Kid, I watched your performance just now. Very good. It seems you're slowly adjusting to a peaceful life. That makes me truly happy. Bees, I plan to wander around Japan for a while. No need to worry about me. Just live your life well. Don't miss me. Your beloved old man." What did it say? Fujiwara asked curiously. Let me ask. What did the person who gave you this look like? I remember clearly. Fujiwara replied. Black trench coat and a round hat. Very retro. But like you, he had a really handsome face. We even chatted for a bit. He seemed very refined and well-mannered. Fujiwara. Yes. The guy you met. Was my dad. Eh? Fujiwara, who had been excited just moments ago, suddenly stared blankly at Rinji. Her expression was practically screaming, "Are you messing with me? Your father?" Yeah. Biological father? What else? He looks really young though. Yeah, he's looked pretty much the same since I was born. Rinji replied. Also, don't be fooled by his outward appearance. He's a total goof. Is dissing your dad something you've gotten used to? Fujiwara walked out of the lounge and pulled back the curtain to glance at the auditorium. The crowd had started to disperse, and the venue would soon be handed over to another class or club. Your father seems to have already left. Are you sure it's okay not to see him? It's fine. That guy is always popping in and out. He's probably off playing around somewhere again. Rinji took off his tailcoat and walked out. As planned, his next stop was the activity area of Class 2A, where Hayasaka was. The legendary maid cafe. Welcome. Table for one? Yes. Please wait a moment. Huh? You're Takuman Rinji, right? Yeah, that's me. The girl in a maid outfit standing at the entrance recognized Rinji the moment she saw him. She had returned to help out her class after watching Rinji and Fujiwara's morning performance. Even so, the performance had left a deep impression on her. Your violin playing was really amazing. I was totally drawn in. Thanks. Please come in. There's an empty seat right now. The second-year girl smiled as she led Rinji inside the cafe. The place was packed. Maid cafes were already popular, and Rinji had to queue earlier just to get in. All the staff here were genuine female high school students, unlike those other places outside that hired women in their late 20s or 30s to act cute and call customers Onii-chan. Naturally, the cafe attracted mostly male customers. Rinji waited at his seat for a bit. Soon, a figure approached. Rinji-kun, you came. Shinomiya. What are you even wearing? Kaguya wasn't in a typical maid outfit. She was wearing a Taisha-wear Japanese waitress-style kimono. I was outside as the poster girl, but they pulled me in to help because it got busy. She placed a teapot on Rinji's table. You're here to see Hayasaka, right? Yeah, we agreed to meet. I figured. I'll go get her for you. Thanks. Rinji glanced at the teapot. What's this? A lightly brewed black tea I made for some picky customers earlier. I take pride in it. Oh, tea. Before she could finish, Rinji nodded, picked up the teapot with one hand, then took a chopstick from the table with the other, placing it over his cup to guide the flow, and poured the hot tea down the chopstick into the cup. Just as Kaguya thought he was about to drink it, Rinji swirled the tea around in the cup and poured it straight into the trash bin beside him. You used the tea I made to rinse your cup? Chapter 390, Maid Cafe. You used the tea I made to rinse your cup? Kaguya's temper flared the moment she saw what Rinji did. She had put in serious effort to brew that cup. Adjusting the temperature, measuring the tea leaves, even choosing the right tools. Not to mention, the tea leaves themselves were of top-tier quality. And this masterpiece of tea got treated as rinse water. Ah, just an old habit from back home. You. Never mind. At least take one sip. I did put effort into it. Resisting the urge to punch him, Kaguya's eyebrow twitched violently, but she forced a smile. Fair enough. Rinji poured the tea back into the now rinsed cup and downed it in one go. Tun tun tun. Tea is meant to be sipped, not chugged like a gorilla guzzling water, she thought. Despite his crude behavior, Kaguya smiled and asked, so? How was it? Not strong enough. You think this is liquor? Kaguya face-palmed. Forget it. I'll go get Hayasaka. If I stay here, you'll probably make me pass out from frustration. She figured the only one who could handle Rinji now was Hayasaka. Take care. After she left, Rinji began scanning the menu. Since Shuchin Academy was an elite school, all the ingredients used during the Hoshin festival were of high quality. That also meant prices were high. The tea Rinji just drank? 800 yen per cup. 2 cups meant 1,600 yen, even if one was used for rinsing. Even though school activities weren't meant for profit, they weren't cheap either. For most people, visiting the school during the festival was a financial blow. While Rinji browsed the menu, a figure quietly approached. "Master, is there anything you wish to order? I think you could use a more normal greeting, Hayasaka." That's the theme of this cafe. Wearing her maid uniform, Hayasaka sat down across from Rinji without hesitation. "Or would you prefer something else? I could call you Anyai-chan if you'd like. You're a year older than me. Please don't casually bring up a lady's age. You're only 17. Still too young to be worrying about that." Rinji chuckled. He glanced at her outfit and noticed it was the exact same maid uniform she wore at home. "You're wearing the same thing here too?" "Yes. If you don't like it, I can change into a more revealing version with a mini skirt and sleeveless top." "Please don't. I think this look suits you just fine." "MMHM, can I take that to mean you don't want other guys seeing me dressed provocatively? My possessiveness isn't that bad." Rinji turned his blushing face away. Seeing his cute reaction, Hayasaka smiled warmly. She really enjoyed these moments. Chatting and occasionally teasing Rinji. "Anything you want to eat? Do you have vodka? This is a high school-run cafe. Of course we don't serve alcohol. Then what do you recommend? How about the omelette rice filled with love?" Hayasaka pointed to the menu, where it was priced at 3,000 yen. It looked like regular omelet. No clue why it was so expensive. Officially, pricing was regulated. But clearly, the maid cafe skirted around that by charging for service rather than the food itself. "I'll go with that, then." "Got it. Please wait a moment." Hayasaka took the menu and headed to the kitchen. Rinji waited at his seat. About 10 minutes later, she returned with a steaming hot plate of omelet. "Here you go. You made this?" "Yup. Aren't you just a server? Why are you cooking too?" "Since we've got more customers, the kitchen needed help, so I stepped in." In truth, though the cafe was busy, the kitchen wasn't overwhelmed. Hayasaka had asked if she could cook, and the others simply let her. "I see. I'll dig in, then." Rinji picked up his spoon. But just as he was about to eat, Hayasaka suddenly held his hand down. "Wait. What?" "It's omelet filled with love, remember? There's still one step left." Hayasaka picked up a bottle of ketchup and drew a huge heart on top of the omelet. Then, taking the spoon from Rinji, she scooped up a bite and held it out to his mouth. "Say ah. You guys offer feeding service too?" "We do. That's part of the maid experience." That was a lie. Shuchin's maid cafe offered no such service. Take the table next to Rinji's, for example. Two young guys had been watching Hayasaka feed him and excitedly asked another maid, "Hey, do you guys really offer that service?" "Nope." The maid answered with a smile. "But she just..." "Oh, if a maid chooses to, we won't stop her." The girl smiled again. "But it's very rare." "I certainly wouldn't do it, master." "Damn it." A group of students stared at Rinji and Hayasaka with envious and bitter expressions. Not only did this maid cafe not offer a feeding service, even the usual maid duties were limited to taking orders and serving plates. At most, they might chat briefly while pouring tea. A case like Hayasaka, who ignored all other customers and stayed by Rinji's side, was absolutely unheard of. Rinji stared at the spoonful of food in front of his mouth for a moment before finally closing his eyes in resignation and biting it. As he chewed, Hayasaka gently wiped the sauce off the corner of his mouth with a handkerchief. Rinji assumed this was just part of the cafe's service. But the surrounding customers were practically burning with jealousy. "How's it taste?" "Overall, not bad." That was Rinji's evaluation of the omelet Hayasaka had made herself. It was hard for him to come up with more praise. He cooked himself and was quite picky about flavor. After being fed 2 spoonfuls, Rinji took the spoon back and quickly finished the plate. While he was eating, Hayasaka stood beside him with a bag of coffee beans and a kettle, carefully brewing a pot of coffee and pouring it into a cup before handing it to him. Worth noting, on the surface of the coffee floated a latte art heart made with milk. The classmates around them were all slightly surprised. Everyone knew what it meant to serve something with a heart design during the Hoshin festival. "Oh." Rinji took a sip of the coffee and smiled. "This coffee tastes really good. If you like it, I can brew it for you every day." Hayasaka said with a soft smile. That one gentle line made the foreheads of nearby customers pop with veins. They really wanted to rush over and beat the crap out of Rinji. "Thanks. If you could brew one for me on Friday to Sunday mornings, that'd be enough." After setting down his cup, Rinji stood up. He paid at the counter, and as he left the maid cafe operated by Class 2A, Hayasaka followed behind him. Her shift had ended. "So, where should we go next?" "Let's walk around the school building. There's a lot to see and do there. Our class set up a haunted house. Want to check it out together?" Sure. Now back in her regular uniform, Hayasaka smiled. Rinji would be spending the entire afternoon with her today. Just place it there, Ishigami. Okay. Ishigami, still helping out the festival committee, wiped the sweat from his forehead after moving the last box. He hadn't exercised in years and lacked muscle. Even moving boxes was exhausting. Thanks for the hard work. Taking a short break, Ishigami's eyes wandered to Tsubame Koyasu, who was directing some students. How should I invite her? The day before, Rinji had given him all kinds of plans. Like checking out the haunted house together, or getting crepes. There were plenty of ideas, but Ishigami froze at the most important step. He just didn't have the courage to invite Koyasu directly. Asking her out is too hard. She's so popular at school. If she turns me down, it'll crush me. If only I had half of Rinji's boldness. He envied Rinji's fearless personality. Hiding behind the school building, Ishigami watched Tsubame, shaking his head as he thought things over. No, this isn't the time to hesitate. The Hashin festival is my last chance. If I miss this, I'll never get another. He slapped his cheeks and mustered his courage, walking toward her. Koyasu-senpai. Scratching the back of his head, he couldn't even look her in the eye. If it's okay. I'd like to. Ah, Yu-kun, I was just about to come find you. Tsubame smiled brightly. Want to walk around the festival together? Eh? Really? He hadn't even asked yet, and she already invited him. Of course. Her smile was infectious. And devastating to Ishigami. Now that she had taken the initiative, he wasn't as nervous anymore. Our class did a haunted house. Rinji handled the sets and costumes. It's really impressive. I heard you like horror. Want to go? Sure. Yes. How rare. Fancy meeting you here, dear aunt. Maki-senpai. Kaguya and Maki ran into each other. Due to internal disputes in the Shinomiya family years ago, the main family, Shinomiya, and the branch family, Shijo, had always been at odds. That animosity continued into the next generation. Though Kaguya and Maki were blood relatives, their relationship was strained. Collateral damage from the previous generation's feud. Kaguya was still wearing her Taisho-era-made uniform from the cafe. After her shift ended, she'd rushed out to look for Shire again and hadn't had time to change. Then she was dragged into Class 1B's haunted house. By none other than her family's rival, Maki Shijo. What's your purpose dragging me here? Nothing. I just missed you, Auntie. Maki said with a shrug and a smile. Really? I don't recall giving you anything worth missing. Their conversations were always like this. Not openly hostile, but clearly cold. I saw this haunted house and thought we could go in together. Stop calling me aunt at school, Maki-senpai. And why do I have to go in? Because you look like you're alone. And so am I. As she said this, Maki's eyes dimmed a bit. Just earlier, Tsubasa Tanuma and Nagiza Kashiwagi had entered the haunted house together. Since the space was limited, only pairs were allowed in. Maki, being the odd one out, wasn't allowed to join them. She didn't dare go in alone. Then she saw Kaguya walking by and shamelessly pulled her along. I really am alone, but... Then come with me. Maki flipped her twin tail. Or are you scared? Ridiculous. Why would I be? There you are, Shinomiya. Shiragane's voice called out behind her. Kaguya turned quickly, delighted. President? My class just finished up. Haunted house, huh? Want to check it out together? Sure. Maki, CAC Chapter 391, Yako the mob. What number of visitors are we at now? Almost 100, I think. Didn't expect the haunted house to be this popular. At the entrance to Class 1B's haunted house, Maiko Ono and Kobachi Asaragi greeted guests in black robes. Though they were part of the Public Morals Committee, whenever they weren't on duty, they helped out in class. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call Ono one of the busiest people in the festival. Juggling Public Morals Committee work, festival committee duties, and helping her class. She barely had any time to enjoy the festival herself. After helping two boys, who were scared stiff and leaning on each other. To the exit, another pair approached. Yo, Ino-san, Asaragi-san. Looks busy. Rinji-kun. Thanks for your hard work, Ino-san. Rinji smiled, then noticed her flushed face. You okay? Your face looks kind of red. It's nothing. Ino quickly covered her cheeks. Asaragi pushed up her thick glasses and explained, because Rinji-kun's morning performance with Fujiwara-senpai was too amazing, Maiko has been admiring you ever since. No, Kobachi, that's not. Oh? What kind of admiration? Rinji asked. Blushing, Ino fidgeted for a moment before murmuring, just. Like how I admire Fujiwara-senpai. I've been lumped in with Fujiwara now? Totally normal. Beside him, Hayasaka flipped into her JRJK mode and laughed. Rinji was fantastic on stage. It's natural to admire someone like that. Huh? Hayasaka-senpai? Only then did I notice Hayasaka. She knew her name not because they were close, but because Hayasaka was a frequent subject of the Public Morals Committee's attention. Hayasaka normally pretended to be a friendly Jiaru. Nails, jewelry, necklaces, all part of her look. Her uniform was never worn properly. Whenever the committee tried to catch her, she'd vanish behind a building and return looking totally proper. Nails, necklaces, all gone. Her skirt? Perfect length. The speed was so fast it felt like she had mastered the world. Hello there, disciplinary committee. Hayasaka waved cheerfully at Ino. Judging by her expression, she had probably been checked by Ino more than once. Rinji spoke up, I want to see how the haunted house turned out, then go in with Hayasaka and take a look. No problem. Wait, Rinji-kun and Hayasaka-senpai are going in together? Ino was just about to let them in when she suddenly realized something. Rinji-kun. I remember you have a girlfriend. Yeah. From another school, right? Hearing Rinji's response, Ino looked at him, then at Hayasaka, and suddenly took 2 steps back. Is this cheating? Rinji. To be honest, he had a similar feeling when he came out with Hayasaka, but her subtle hints had kept him from thinking too much. Now that Ino pointed it out, Rinji also felt something was off. Watching from the side, Hayasaka observed the situation. Seeing that Ino's single comment had rendered Rinji speechless, she cursed the nosy committee member inwardly, then spoke. Ah, how strange. She tapped her chin with a finger and feigned curiosity. I'm just out playing at the festival with Rinji. We've known each other for a long time, so it's totally normal to hang out. But a boy and a girl alone. Ino's voice grew a bit hesitant, while Hayasaka continued, I remember Rinji is supposed to patrol with you after the first day, right? That's also 1 boy and 1 girl. Would you call that a date? And no, of course not. Then what's wrong with me going out with Rinji? Hayasaka smiled. Disciplinary committee member, please keep your thoughts healthy. In the end, they had no choice but to let Rinji and Hayasaka into the haunted house. Watching their retreating backs, Ino sighed. Are my thoughts really that unhealthy? A little. But generally still normal, Maiko. Don't take it too hard. Said Asaragi comfortingly. Though as a disciplinary committee member, you're kind of useless, she added inwardly. Haunted house. Originally, it referred to old buildings with paranormal stories, but nowadays it's mostly an entertainment setup. By creating a creepy atmosphere to scare guests and make them break into cold sweat, haunted houses have gained popularity worldwide. Most visitors are thrill seekers or courage testers, though they serve another purpose too. Dating. A boy and a girl enter, get startled by the staff dressed as ghosts, and the girl instinctively grabs the boy. This builds a romantic tension and increases emotional dependency. Of course, there are exceptions. Like when the girl is too brave or the guy is too scared. In the first case, the boy can cling to the girl. In the second, you can use it to trigger the suspension bridge effect, so it's not a big deal either. The real issue arises when one of them is an idiot. Hayasaka, look, this forest-themed area is perfect for staff to hide in. It's one of my proud designs, inspired by Vietnam. Hayasaka. Overall, the haunted house had a heavy and oppressive vibe. Hayasaka took the chance to hold on to Rinji's arm. But Rinji seemed to have something wrong with his head. Ever since they entered, he kept explaining how the haunted house was built, like a real estate agent. The horror was completely gone. Hiding behind the forest in a female ghost costume, Onodera heard Rinji's monologue and felt that even if she jumped out to scare them, it would only end in awkwardness. Chapter 392. This isn't what a haunted house is for. I originally wanted to design a river or something, but since this is a rented classroom, I had to scrap that idea. Listening to Rinji's endless rambling, Onodera slowly stepped out of the forest. Yeah. Seeing the female ghost approaching, Hayasaka quickly clung to Rinji's arm. In the pitch-dark environment, it was impossible to see Hayasaka's expression or tell if she was genuinely scared. Rinji didn't react much to the ghost's appearance and just waved, Yo, Onodera. You're making things difficult for me. Onodera took off her wig and spoke flatly. This is really disrespectful to the haunted house staff. But you didn't scare me. What a shame. She said, then glanced at Hayasaka clinging to Rinji. So Hayasaka-senpai is here too? Yep. Hayasaka smiled. It was clear that her frightened act just now had been entirely fake. Did you two come here just to mess with the staff? Of course not, but I really can't pretend to be scared. Rinji shrugged. I just couldn't feel any horror elements. I figured. Scaring you was always going to be a challenge. Onodera Ray nodded thoughtfully, then her eyes lit up. Hey, do you want to try playing the ghost yourselves? You're one of the creators of this haunted house anyway. You could experience what it's like to scare others," she said. "Of course, Hayasaka-senpai can join too." Rinji glanced at Hayasaka, who smiled and nodded. "Of course. I've always wanted to try something fun like this. Okay, I'll go get the costumes. Now we just wait here for someone to come by." Rinji and Hayasaka crouched behind the forest, waiting. Hayasaka wore a wide dress, her face mostly covered by black wig strands. Rinji wore a traditional Japanese monster costume. When people found out Rinji was going to play the ghost, some students from Class 1B wanted to apply the female ghost makeup on him, but he firmly refused. Otherwise, Hayasaka's outfit would have been his. "Rinji, aren't you hot in that thing?" "Not really. Even if I am, it's better than wearing a girl's outfit," he said from within the monster costume. He pointed ahead. "Someone should come in through that path soon. When they get close, we'll jump out." "Got it." There was still quite a bit of distance between the haunted house entrance and their spot. Most people turned back before getting this far. Rinji didn't know what scared them so much, but in reality, very few made it through the whole haunted house. Many backed out midway. The two of them waited, even pulling out their phones to kill time. No one showed up. Did everyone chicken out? Could be. Hayasaka nodded, then glanced at Rinji in costume. "My legs are falling asleep. Can I lean on you for a bit?" "Of course." Rinji sat down. Hayasaka settled on his lap, resting her face on his chest. Due to the thick costume, Rinji couldn't feel her warmth. "I'm surprised you agreed to dress up as a ghost. We could have gone to so many other places this afternoon." "It doesn't matter where we go. What matters is who we go with," Hayasaka said with a smile. "As long as I'm with you, I don't mind helping out as staff." "Really? That makes me kind of happy." Rinji's gloved hand gently stroked her hair. From an outsider's perspective, it was a weird scene, a female ghost curled up in a monster's lap. Sounds like someone's here." Even with the thick headgear, Rinji could hear a faint sound nearby. It sounded like a girl. That sounded odd. "Think she's scared?" Hayasaka sat up and looked in the direction of the sound. Did someone get lost? The haunted house only took up 2 classrooms, but it was still possible to get lost. With the darkness and creepy staff around, some people were so terrified they'd hide in a corner and tremble, unable to move forward. Those people usually had to be escorted out by staff. Rinji and Hayasaka moved toward the sound, using their phones for light. "Hello, I'm with Class 1B staff. Did something happen? What the hell are you two doing?" Under the flashlight, a boy and a girl were passionately making out in a corner. Both were students from Shuchen, and Rinji recognized them. Tanuma Tsubasa and Kashiwagi Nagiza. They jumped in shock at the light and turned to see a grotesque monster and a ghost standing over them. "Ah! X2, why the hell are you screaming? You've been holed up in here for ages just to make out?" Rinji snapped. "Go home if you want to do that." "Eh? That voice. Takuman-san?" Even through the costume, Tanuma recognized him. "Yep, it's me. Caught you red-handed. But since it's the Hoshin festival, I'll let it slide. Just don't do this stuff at school again." "Ah, we're really sorry. Sorry for the trouble." The two bowed to Rinji before holding hands and walking toward the haunted house exit. Their faces didn't even turn red. They didn't seem the least bit embarrassed at getting caught. Looked like they were pretty experienced. Hayasaka's face, however, was flushed red. She didn't even glance toward where they had left. Her eyes were fixed on Renji's lips. Chapter 393, Hidden Motives. Humans are deeply affected by their surroundings. Like when you see someone eating instant noodles on the street, even if you're not hungry, you'll feel the urge to grab a bite yourself. Hayasaka was currently in that exact state. After watching Nagiza and Tanuma passionately kiss, her heart stirred with a mix of frustration and nervous energy. And Rinji was standing right next to her. So, Hayasaka kept her eyes locked on his lips, slowly inching closer. She was blushing, but she didn't resist. After all, she had already kissed Rinji once before. That had been both of their first kiss. Doing it again wouldn't be a big deal, Hayasaka thought. Seriously, those two idiots doing stuff like that without any regard for where they are. Are they just chasing thrills or what? Rinji grumbled, putting his monster mask back on. Just as he turned his head, he saw Hayasaka about to lean in. What is it? No. Nothing. Hayasaka quickly stepped back and covered her mouth, pretending nothing had happened. Because her long wig covered most of her face, Rinji didn't notice how red she had gotten. That's enough of the haunted house. Let's head out. We don't have much of the afternoon left, so we should check out other attractions, said Rinji. Sounds good. After deciding, they moved toward the backstage room. When they arrived, Onodera and several other students were already there, peeking through the window at the long line of students waiting to enter the haunted house. Huh? You guys finished already? Yeah. We caught a pair of shameless lovebirds making out in there. Rinji replied. You might want to tighten the supervision inside. Really? Well, haunted houses are a classic couple activity. A little physical contact isn't surprising. Onodera didn't seem too bothered. They showed us way more than we ever wanted to see. Then maybe you and Hayasaka-senpai should try doing the same. Huh? Nothing. Onodera shook her head. If you're done, you can take off the costume. You must be boiling in that thing. Yeah. Rinji started unzipping his suit while Hayasaka removed her wig. Just then, a commotion outside caught their attention. The crowd had gotten rowdy again. Looking out the window, they spotted Kaguya and Shirogane standing at the haunted house entrance, next in line. The two were popular figures at school. There had been long-standing rumors about them dating, though nothing had been confirmed. Showing up together like this definitely stirred the gossip mill. The president and vice president are here together? Are they seriously dating? Is this a date? That's so romantic. The murmuring crowd made Kaguya blush, while Shirogane maintained his usual unreadable expression. Seeing the scene, Rinji and Hayasaka exchanged glances. Hayasaka quickly put her wig back on. Rinji slipped into his costume once again. Huh? Weren't you two finished? Onodera asked, confused. We decided to go one more round. Don't worry. It's the last one. Shirogane had just been wandering around the festival when he happened to spot Kaguya near the haunted house. In that moment, an idea struck him. To ask her to go in with him. Haunted houses were known to bring couples closer together. It made sense in theory. Normally, he would never take the initiative like this, but this was his last chance. Like he said before the Hashin festival started, he was going to fight like a man. Even if she called him cute. So be it. He had to cast aside his shame and act boldly. Shinomiya, let's go together. Why yes, President. Being watched by so many students, Kaguya didn't tease him like usual. Instead, she acted shy, just like a regular girl. Inside, she was thrilled. It was the first time Shirogane had invited her to do something alone together. Her sharp mind quickly kicked in again. Looking at the haunted house, she began strategizing. With a haunted house, there's so much I can do. If I act scared and fall into his arms, we'll have more physical contact. He'll get flustered, and that's the perfect opportunity to push things further. Flawless plan. Kaguya thought she wouldn't get scared easily. She hadn't been in a haunted house before, but she'd heard all about jump scares and basic setups. Shirogane was thinking along the same lines. He assumed he had a strong resistance to these things and planned to show off his manliness. 5 minutes later. Kaguya, holding on to Shirogane's sleeve, said sweetly, President, I'm a little scared. She was telling the truth. Once she was actually inside the pitch-black haunted house, the creepy atmosphere genuinely made her nervous. But despite that, she didn't forget her plan. She smiled to herself, I'm hugging the president now. You must be thrilled, right? She looked up at him and noticed his face was serious. Ah, he's playing it cool. So cute. But reality was different. Shirogane's internal monologue, so scary, so scary, so scary, so scary. He was terrified. The haunted house setting had genuinely gotten to him. Why did I invite her here? I'm scared out of my mind. If she realizes that, I'm screwed. He cursed his earlier decision. If Kaguya found out he was scared, it would ruin everything. No, I can't let her know. I have to hold it together. Even if I'm dying inside. Forcing a smile, he said, let's go, Shinomiya. Okay. Kaguya, now's the time to break through his defenses. Shirogane, just get me out of here. Each had their own internal struggle. Meanwhile, hiding behind the prop forest, Rinji and Hayasaka were scheming. Chapter 394, Why lie about something you don't have? So, how should we make our move? Rinji whispered. In theory, Kaguya-sama isn't great with horror, so even a small scare could trigger a strong reaction. She'll naturally jump into the president's arms. Hayasaka paused thoughtfully. But if the president is also afraid of ghosts or the supernatural, things might get complicated. You think the president would be scared of this stuff? Not everyone is like you, Rinji. Normal people usually have at least some fear of these things. So we need something that only scares Shinomiya, but not the president? That'd be ideal. Hayasaka nodded. But I know Kaguya-sama better than I know the president. How much do you know about him? Just general stuff. Nothing in depth. Rinji didn't know Shirogane well enough to predict his deeper reactions. If we just jump out and scare them, it might not work. We might end up scaring both of them. Oh. How about bugs? Rinji lit up. It's said that girls are often afraid of insects. If we throw a huge one in front of them, Shinomiya will freak out, and the president can swoop in and protect her. Instant romantic moment. Not bad, but only if Kaguya-sama is actually afraid of bugs. Hayasaka sighed. And where are we supposed to get a bug from? Creak 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 creak. Before she could finish, Hayasaka heard a disturbing sound. Turning her head, she saw Renji holding a spider the size of a basin. Its hairy legs twitched. You. She recoiled in shock. Where did that spider come from? Huh? I made it on site. You made that thing? And why is it so huge? What species is it? I thought it needed to be big to scare people. That's not the point. Okay, deploying now. The giant spider suddenly shot silk from its rear, sticking to the ceiling, and then began crawling toward Kaguya and Shirogane. Is it really okay? It's fine. That kid listens to me. President, it's so dark in here. Yeah. You'll protect me, right? Yeah. Kaguya and Shirogane walked through the pitch-black haunted house with completely different states of mind. Originally terrified, Kaguya felt a sudden sense of security when she clung to Shirogane. She was enjoying this unfamiliar feeling of safety, and so she kept her body close to him the whole time. This was also the only time she had a legitimate reason to hold on to Shirogane. Ah, it feels so safe next to the president. I wish we could keep walking like this forever. Meanwhile, Shirogane's inner thoughts were, so scary, so scary, so scary, so scary, so scary, so scary, so scary. God, please let this end already. The man had already started praying for the haunted house trip to end quickly. He really couldn't handle places like this. Even knowing all the monsters were fake and everything was set up just to scare him, the atmosphere still got to him. Endure it. Shirogane Miyuki, Shinomiya is right next to you. You absolutely can't show even the slightest bit of fear here. Biting his lip, Shirogane gave himself a pep talk. Actually, he could somewhat manage scary things as long as he kept reminding himself they were fake. What he truly couldn't handle were bugs. It all started during an elementary school camping trip. One night in the mountains, he went to a vending machine to get a drink, only for a swarm of bugs to suddenly burst out of nowhere. Since then, he'd had an unshakable fear of insects. To Shirogane, bugs were way scarier than ghosts or monsters. President, it looks like there's a light over there. Kaguya, still clinging to his arm, pointed ahead. Oh? Looks like we're almost at the exit. Shirogane felt relieved. Nothing had really scared him that much along the way, and now the exit was in sight. His image in Shinomiya's eyes was still intact. He quickened his pace toward the light. But just then, something unexpected happened. With a clacking sound, a giant spider dropped rapidly from the ceiling on a long strand of web, landing right in front of them. Its grotesque size and barbed limbs, far beyond what any normal person could accept, froze both of them in place. Kaguya thought, is this spider a prop? It feels alive, but I can't tell what species it is. It looks nearly 50 centimeters long. If discovered, it would be huge news in the biology world. Wait, this isn't the time for that. She suddenly threw herself onto Shirogane. President. I'm so scared. Guess I'll have to learn from Fujiwara's shamelessness just this once. Otherwise, it'll be hard to win at the festival. As she clung to him, she peeked with one eye open to check his reaction. He didn't move an inch. A beautiful girl just leapt into his arms and he's not reacting at all. Has the president really reached that level of self-control? Actually, no. Shirogane had fainted from sheer terror of the spider. Hiding nearby, Renji and Hayasaka watched the scene unfold. Hayasaka said, looks like Kaguya-sama is really going all out. Renji replied, seems like it. As expected of the president, staying so calm in front of a spider that big. But Shinomiya is being so forward. Why isn't he responding more? Just as Renji said that, Shirogane moved. His arm slowly tightened, pulling Kaguya into his embrace. Ah, president. Kaguya's face flushed as she felt Shirogane hold her closer. So he finally made a move. Let's see what he... Huh? She suddenly felt something was off. Shirogane's tightening grip had pulled her in close, and his hand had somehow ended up on her chest, continuing to squeeze. This wasn't Shirogane doing it on purpose. He had already lost consciousness, and the motion was purely due to post-faint muscle contraction. President, don't do that here. Kaguya said loudly, blushing. Touching my chest and all. From afar, Renji muttered, why does Shinomiya always worry about something she doesn't even have? Hayasaka whispered, don't you ever say that to her face. I've already said it a few times. Chapter 395, The Scales of Victory. I originally thought you could only come up with weird stuff, but now I see I was wrong. Onodera took the prop handed over by Renji and Hayasaka, looking slightly surprised. I just saw President Shirogane come out with a terrified look on his face. He was clearly really shaken. Huh? I thought it was Shinomiya who got scared. Shinomiya-senpai seemed fine. Probably didn't get too spooked. Onodera replied. Do you two want to go again? Let's pass. We still have other places to visit. Alright then. After returning all the props to the haunted house, Rinji and Hayasaka left. Earlier, when Shirogane had a breakdown in the haunted house, things nearly spiraled out of control. Luckily, Rinji had quickly retrieved the spider, preventing Shirogane from fully passing out. Still, the fact that he groped Kaguya during that time was undeniable. She had to bite his hand to wake him up. Anyway, this incident brought the two closer together, which made Rinji and Hayasaka feel more at ease as they left. Where to next? Let's just wander around. The two strolled through various booths along the hallways. There were food stalls, game booths. Plenty of fun places. Free from other obligations, the two enjoyed themselves. Hayasaka had fully immersed herself in the festival atmosphere, enjoying her time with Rinji. A smile appeared on her face. It was probably the happiest day she'd had in a long time. So happy she wished it could last forever. But that was impossible. Hayasaka knew Rinji had a girlfriend. Even though she used certain tricks to stay at his house from Friday to Sunday, and successfully invited him to hang out with her at the festival, some things couldn't be changed. Facts were facts. After the festival ended, Rinji would still be Karura's boyfriend. Her relationship with him would return to what it had always been. Hayasaka had spent a long time trying to make up for past mistakes, but nothing had really changed. Maybe it's time to give up? What's wrong, Hayasaka? Rinji, walking beside her, asked. Your face suddenly looked a little pale. Are you sick? No, I'm fine. Really? Rinji reached out and touched her forehead. Looks fine. If you need to rest, we can. It's okay, let's keep going. Hayasaka shook her head. Even if she was already thinking of backing out, she still felt it was too early to give up now. At least struggle a little longer. That afternoon, the two visited many places, ate lots of snacks, and played many games. After making a full loop around the school building, they found a corner to rest in. That was a pretty fun afternoon. Yeah. Rinji couldn't help but smile. There was a time when he wished he and Hayasaka could hang out like this, maybe even go traveling together. But now. Hey, you two over there. Suddenly, a girl's voice called out, deliberately lowered. Hayasaka and Rinji turned to look in the direction of the sound and saw a 2-meter-tall tent had been set up by the hallway. On it were the words, "The Witch's Hut." When was that tent put up? Looks like it was always there. They both eyed it suspiciously. Then a voice called out again from inside. You two with the golden hair. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Now it was clear they were being called, so Rinji pulled back the curtain and stepped inside. Hayasaka followed. Inside was dimly lit. A table stood in front of them, with a crystal ball and tarot cards on it. Across from them sat a black-haired girl with a stunning figure, eyes half closed and smiling warmly at them. Tenbo Yumi, a third-year student, member of the student union, and president of the occult research club. So it's you. Why'd you call us over? Nothing big. I was just interested in you two. Yumi smiled as she squinted her eyes. I can do a little fortune-telling for you. Huh, you think I'd believe in? Rinji was about to protest when he suddenly shut his mouth. He clearly remembered how this girl had once told him he had bad luck with women and would be surrounded by them. Back then, he had no girlfriend and didn't believe it. But after getting one, girls really did start gathering around him more and more. With a slight sigh, Rinji sat down in front of her. Fine. Let's hear it, just for fun. Alright. Yumi smiled as she picked up the tarot cards and began laying them out. Hayasaka also sat down next to Rinji. Are you and Hayasaka-san a couple? No. Then it must be a friends with benefits thing. Don't spout nonsense. Are you using protection properly? Are you messing with me? Rinji's forehead twitched in irritation. Just kidding. Yumi chuckled. Just from a bit of observation, I can tell you two aren't a couple yet. TCH. Takuman-kun, you need to be careful. Yumi held up the tarot cards. You might be getting involved with some mysterious being soon. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Hard to say. Could be ghosts, could be monsters. But I think it's more likely to be something divine. What kind of nonsense is that? Oh right, the person you've been searching for will also surface soon. She smiled. That's a good omen. Anyway, thanks. Not wanting to hear more of her ramblings, Rinji stood up. Seeing him exit the tent, Hayasaka quickly got up to follow. Hayasaka-san, please wait a moment. What is it, senpai? Hayasaka turned back, looking curious. She knew the girl, but in front of others still kept up her usual act. You don't need to keep pretending anymore. Yumi picked up another tarot card from the side, still smiling. You already have powerful protection, don't you? Let me give you a word of advice before you go. Yumi stood up, and her eyes, usually closed, opened, staring directly at Hayasaka. What is it? December 21st, the final day of the festival. Tomorrow, said Yumi. That day is your destined turning point with Takuman-kun. You need to break the chains he's placed on himself. Only then will the scales of victory tip in your favor. Chapter 396, Speaking Like a Girl break. The chains? Exactly. Yumi's smile was full of mystery. Takuman-kun isn't like us. Normal people form ambitions or dreams in life, but he doesn't. From birth, he already had everything. No one can punish him. No one can judge him. Living like a god among men, if he wants to feel human again, he must place restrictions on himself. Since the outside world can no longer restrain him, he has to do it himself. Yumi explained. He set rules for himself. If you want to change the current situation, Hayasaka-san, you'll have to break those rules he gave himself. Senpai, do you really think I'm capable of doing that? Hayasaka asked the witch-like girl before her. It's not about whether you can or can't. Yumi said, her eyes slightly opening. It's that only you can. No one else can change him. Only you. What should I do? Tomorrow is your destined day. Just seize the opportunity, said Yumi. It'd be best during the bonfire party. Makes it more romantic. What did she say to you, Hayasaka? Nothing special. Hayasaka shook her head. They were now walking through the school building corridors after exiting Yumi's tent. The first day of the festival was wrapping up. Around them, students were cleaning up their class booths and taking out trash. Since earlier, Hayasaka had been holding on to Rinji's sleeve, not saying a word. It was clearly different from her usual self, and Rinji had noticed. Hey, can I ask you something? Are you free during tomorrow's bonfire party? Probably not. Rinji replied. He glanced toward his classroom. Class 1B, where the haunted house was. I know is a public morals committee member like me. The bonfire party is exactly when we're supposed to be on patrol. She's really passionate about this festival. It'd be a shame if she couldn't participate because of work. So you're planning to cover her shift? Pretty much. I can patrol alone. Then I'll go with you. Huh? Rinji looked at Hayasaka in surprise. You don't want to join the bonfire? Nope. If you're not there, it's no fun anyway. Hayasaka smiled softly. Rinji looked at her face for a moment before turning away. If you're willing. Then I don't mind. Okay. Actually, Rinji had more to do tomorrow than just patrol. He also had something more important to take care of. That was helping with Shiragane's plan, which required some setup to be done in private. After the day's festival events wrapped up, most students went home. Meanwhile, the student council members gathered in their office as usual. The others hadn't arrived yet. Only Rinji and Ishigami were there. Ishigami, how was your date today? Huh? What date? Don't play dumb. Everyone knows you were hanging out with Koyasu-senpai. Well, yeah, it was fun. Seeing that he couldn't hide it, Ishigami admitted it. As he talked about Tsubame, he scratched his head, blushing. While we were walking through the haunted house, she got scared and would suddenly cling to me. It was actually really nice. Oh? But Ishigami's mood suddenly dropped. Toward the end of the event, we went to a ring toss booth. I won the first prize, and when I gave it to her, she disappeared. Huh? Did I do something wrong? Just to clarify, what was the first prize? A giant heart-shaped item. At the festival, giving a heart-shaped item to someone of the opposite sex was equivalent to a confession. It was a long-standing tradition. By giving that to Tsubame, Ishigami had effectively confessed. Publicly, in front of everyone. Naturally, Tsubame, surprised and flustered, must have run off. The problem was that Ishigami didn't seem to realize he had confessed. Rinji, however, knew full well about the tradition. But even he. Yeah, hearing it now, that does sound strange. Rinji said, falling into thought. Alright, just because he knew the tradition didn't mean he cared much about it. He didn't really associate gifting a heart with confessing love. I'm seriously confused now. Did I mess up somewhere, or does she hate me? Ishigami sighed. I feel like I don't even have the courage to talk to girls anymore. He still carried a lot of insecurity. Especially being in the student council, where everyone else was so outstanding. When Tsubame ran away from him, his first instinct was to blame himself and think she disliked him. It's not that bad. Tomorrow, I want to talk to her again, so I want to ask a favor. Could you pretend to be Koyasu-senpai so I can practice talking to her? I need to build my courage. You want me to act as a girl again? No, no cross-dressing needed. Just talk like a girl. Talk like a girl? Got it. Then let's start. Ishigami stood up, cleared his throat, and looked seriously at Rinji. Koyasu-senpai, Yu-kun, can you help me empty my shopping cart? Rinji mimicked Tsubame's voice. Koyasu-senpai would never say that. Ishigami roared. You're already fantasizing about me? Gross, you disgusting otaku. Cut it out already. Ishigami dropped to his knees. Just a few random comments from Rinji, and he felt even less confident about facing Tsubame. Chapter 397, How to Reject a Boy's Confession. What's wrong, Ishigami? Rinji looked at the guy sprawled on the floor. Did I not do a good enough impression? That wasn't an impression at all. Do you think Koyasu-senpai would ever say something like that? You only said to talk like a girl. Rinji replied calmly. Based on what I found online, girls do say things like clear my shopping cart or gross, disgusting otaku. Can you look for more normal references, please? Then which girl do you think is normal? Someone from the student council? What's wrong? Why so quiet all of a sudden? And no, I just don't think narrowing it down to the student council helps. Ishigami realized that the girls in the student council didn't exactly fall into the category of normal girls. Still want to keep going? Yeah. Ishigami nodded and looked at Rinji. I've got to overcome this. Please play the girl one more time. I can, but I still think it'd be better if you just talk to a real girl. Rinji offered. I mean, I'm a guy. Talking to me isn't the same. And your goal is to confidently talk to Koyasu-senpai tomorrow, right? You're right, but... Ishigami's face clouded again. The atmosphere around him seemed to darken. If I do that, she'll definitely hate me. She'll say I'm gross or something. Just like you said earlier. Girls really do say those things. Especially to someone like me. Come to think of it, maybe she ran away because she thought I was disgusting. Okay, Ishigami, stop right there. Rinji waved his hand, cutting through Ishigami's self-deprecating spiral. I get it. I'll roleplay one more time. Thank you so much, Rinji. You're the best. Ishigami looked at him with teary gratitude. You're probably the only one who doesn't hate me. If you were a girl, you'd be one of my ideal types. Shut up. Rinji rubbed his temples. But I don't know many girls well. Who should I base my performance on? I don't know Koyasu-senpai's personality that well. Your girlfriend, maybe? You've spent enough time with her. You know her best. Fair. Facing each other again, Ishigami resumed his practice. Looking serious, he thumped his chest and said, Koyasu-senpai. Rinji, Yu-kun, let's fuck. In Koyasu's voice, is that really how your girlfriend talks to you? Yeah, I'm troubled by it too. Rinji watched as Ishigami collapsed again. I'm also troubled as to why you made me use Karura as a reference. Don't include private life stuff like that. Say something more everyday. No way your girlfriend talks like that 24 out of 7. Ishigami sat up, rubbing his burning cheeks. Rinji using Tsubame's voice to say such wild lines had seriously rattled him. Everyday talk? Oh, I got it. I hope you really do. Clearing his throat, Ishigami got into character again. Koyasu-senpai, why did you avoid me yesterday? Did I do something wrong? Sorry, Yu-kun. Rinji replied in Koyasu's voice. I got a sudden job assignment yesterday. A job? Yeah. I was sent to Chiyoda Ward to take out a certain boss. Ah, then I guess. Wait, what? Ishigami felt something was off. Meanwhile, Rinji continued with his Koyasu act. He was a pervert who escaped trial through legal loopholes. But don't worry, I gritted him with wire last night. That fat face made it tough to choke out. His screams were like a pig's and even attracted the security guards. Do you even understand what everyday conversation means? Ishigami collapsed, pounding the floor. My girlfriend's usual talk is more or less like this. Rinji said proudly. As a good boyfriend, I naturally ask if she needs weapons, supplies, or troop support. Are you two just role-playing in a game, or is this straight up a case of delusional Chiyunabu? Ishigami finally accepted reality. Rinji might be a great friend and an incredible person. But he was not normal. If you're really worried, I can go ask Koyasu-senpai myself. Huh? If you're too scared to ask her directly, I'll do it. I won't bring up your name. Just subtly fish around. Then. I'd really appreciate that. Rinji didn't have to search long before he spotted Koyasu Tsubame sitting alone on a bench in the school courtyard. She didn't look her usual cheerful self. She seemed preoccupied. Koyasu-senpai? Rinji? When she turned and saw Rinji, her face lit up with surprise. She patted the bench beside her, gesturing for him to sit down. Rinji hesitantly sat next to her and asked, "What's wrong, senpai? You look like something's on your mind." "Rinji, can I ask you something? You probably have experience with this." She looked at him with pleading eyes, which only confused Rinji further. "What? How do you reject a guy's confession? Senpai, do you have some weird misunderstanding about me?" Rinji clenched his fists as veins bulged along his neck and face. "Why would I have experience with that? Eh? But someone said you got a love letter from a boy after the sports festival. That did happen. But still. Fake news. And what's that got to do with the favor you're asking? I want to reject someone's confession but don't know how." Koyasu looked down, visibly troubled. "Oh, that's it?" Rinji chuckled. "Just reject him directly. Be clear. Don't give him the slightest hope." He didn't want anyone beating Ishigami to the punch. What he didn't realize was, the guy Tsubame was talking about was Ishigami. Chapter 398, Reverse Smoking Honestly. I was so caught off guard. Tsubame's cheeks turned slightly red, and she fidgeted. Most guys who confessed to me before were all like, "Wanna try dating and see how it goes?" Kind of vague. That's easier to turn down. But this time, she remembered Ishigami, in front of all those people, handing her a huge heart-shaped gift and saying, "This is how I feel." Her face went red again, and she looked down. "If you ask me, for rejecting someone, you should go ask another girl." Rinji leaned back on the bench, speaking casually. "Find someone who gets confessed to a lot. Like Shinomiya.